Good afternoon, everyone. It is 5 o'clock, and thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Janelle. To this afternoon's City Council workshop. Let the record show that Councilmember Adams is not here. Councilmember Sagara is running late, and Mayor Pro Tem Cobb is not here. She's running late. We will start off with our citizen comments. You have 4 minutes to speak. Council, if you have a response back, you have 1 minute. The first person is David Fleming. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
Council members. Is it here or here? Right here. All right. And it's already on, or do I need to press the button? Okay, mighty fine.
You can bring it down some.
Okay, thank you. I thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to show a sign of force in relation to support of the decriminalization of marijuana. As I understood, the citizenry had voted for that to be passed, and I guess somehow it's some contention about it, not being upheld as far as what the voters chose. My reason for voting for decriminalizing marijuana is simply because it causes a serious problem with our youngsters, black and brown children similar to myself. They end up in charges, felony charges that end up stopping them from getting good paying jobs, buying homes, and they end up in a situation where it leaves little choices, let's say. And my thought is that this money could be better spent. It cost, I don't know how many dollars, but I know y'all are familiar with it, to actually test whatever sample that they have and whatnot, and that stuff cannot just be done. That money seems like it could be better to fix some of these roads and different other things. I'm not going to use these whole 4 minutes, but I'm going to thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sean Price. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. It's me again. Sorry that you have to see me. So I have several questions. Item 2, RS 24-026. What was the original announced cost for this item? Because I don't remember it being 22 million. I thought it was a lot less, but I may be missing. This may have been the building cost, and then this is the over total cost now. So I may be misunderstanding that. I thought it was a lot less. RS 24-030. On these individuals, is it going to be the city manager doing the evals, individual evals of these individuals? So yearly evals, right, for performance reviews of these employees? Or is it going to be the director of animal services? Where was the other one? I apologize. I put my sheet back against the wall, so all my notes, I'm a little lost. So I apologize for my confusion here. Oh, yes, the security guard at the library, is this an armed security guard? And is there an idea as to how many security guards actually on the employment roster for this contract? It seems a little expensive at $260,000 for just one security guard. So that's why I'm inquiring. the fiber optic network, isn't there already a company going through and installing fiber optic network throughout the city? So is this that we're, as a city, installing this ourselves to the building when it's coming anyway? So why are we spending $129,000 to put a fiber optic network in the ground when the company is already doing that? Just kind of curious how that came about. And then on the marijuana case, it's illegal. Decriminalization is always a good thing for certain circumstances, right? This isn't just kids smoking pot, this is everybody smoking pot, and we already sell it here in Killeen. So we already have gummies and vape machines and stuff like that everywhere, right? And you can smell it anywhere you go into HEB, you can smell pot everywhere, right? So, but that doesn't mean that the incidences of DUI won't come on the rise, that traffic accidents, and angry outbursts in schools and things like this, because after a while, you get addicted to the pot, right? Not only that, for kids, it actually makes them stupid. It lowers their IQ. All this stuff, you can go online. There's 100 years worth of study, right? Pot is not a good thing, right? Now, if you got cancer, that's something different, okay? We understand that. Those drugs that make you sick, you can't hold food down. Well, the marijuana can help with that, or the glaucoma case. But outside of that, recreational use, if you look at California, right, in Chico, in Denver, it's not a good thing. This always leads to more. It is a gateway drug and has been identified in the last 10 years as a gateway drug. It affects me in my neighborhood. It's everywhere. The teenagers smoke it right out there in the parking lot of Bryce Apartments. They even try to sell it to me on my front porch. But they also fight one another and shoot up cars and things like this out there too because of whatever reason.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Thank you.
I'm opposed to it, so thank you.
Sharon Palmer. Good afternoon, ma'am. You have 4 minutes. Let the record show that all council members are present.
Good evening. Good evening. And I'd like to address everyone, but I'm here to talk about the decrim marijuana, and I would just want to know why it was ignored. The voters that voted for it, it ignored their vote. I talked to a lot of kids when I was out getting signatures. A lot of the kids are just being like planted on them. A lot of them don't even have marijuana. When they get stopped, if they get stopped for a ticket, just give them the ticket and let them go on. Don't go and search their cars. Okay, and then another thing too is that there was one young lady that had went down, did community service and everything. Once she did her community service, they tested her. She has never smoked a day in her life. And it was planted on her. So she was upset, very upset. I said, don't cry. What I did was I took her to Harker Heights and got a second opinion. There was none at all. I really felt so sorry for her. That could have kept her from getting a job, loan, and everything. And I advise any parent, if your kids are being tested or they say that they have drugs and they never used it, believe them. Or if not, go take them to get tested. Because you know what? This was money that could have been well spent instead of going up there taking a test to know that you had never smoked a reefer a day in your life. So I ask parents to go get your kids tested again. Don't take their word for it. If you have to get a second or third opinion, do it. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Melissa Brown, good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening. Mayor, if you could add items 10 and 11 to my form, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. The Avanti Legacy Westwood is on the agenda, needing a resolution of support for the low-income tax housing credit application. As we know, low-income and affordable housing is at a premium in Killeen. We don't have enough. Part of the comprehensive plan includes having a variety of housing levels, and that would have to include low-income housing. So I'd encourage the city council to go ahead and submit a letter of support for this development. I'm confused and concerned about the community center roof replacement for $69,600. When I look at the staff report, at the beginning of the background, it says that the community center roof replacement project was included in the CIP as a project in 2020. However, when you read further down in it, it says that the roof replacement was not included in the scope of work. So was this a matter of not doing due diligence to make sure it was included? Is this not due diligence in actually doing all of the inspections to see what would need to be done for the full scope of work at the community center? How long is this going to delay it? Because now we've had to wait for council approval, and it'll be a minimum of 1 more week before the council can actually approve spending the extra $69,000 on this. And then is this in addition to the roof work that was supposed to be done in the past? Or is this an entirely new charge? Also, I presume that this money is just coming out of what's left over in a governmental CIP account, because it wasn't included originally when the budget was passed. As far as WCID number 1, I came up a few weeks ago when this first came up to the council and talked about the fact that Killeen is not in a position where we need to spend this money right now, nor will we be for the next 30, 40, maybe 50 years. Instead of going into more debt for that, which was not originally included in our debt projections, I completely agree with the city manager. He came up and presented and said that we don't need this right now, and we have a very viable, bless you, we have a very viable alternative to this, which is to redo our water wastewater study and then use the impact fees to pay for the improvements. That was the whole reason that the city council passed impact fees to begin with. I would encourage the council to maybe go more towards that way. If we are going to continue to take on more debt, then it should go towards gap sidewalks, lighting, crosswalks, those things that are required and needed for public safety. Thank you. And then as far as the lawsuit, this is not a problem of Killeen not following the will of the voters. This is about the fact that when the council put this on the ballot, it was an unenforceable ordinance to be on the books, and it still hasn't changed anything for anyone. Police are still arresting people for low-level marijuana, but now, as our last police chief told us, they're doing deeper searches into it, and in those deeper searches, they are actually finding higher levels of arrests to be made, higher charges. So this is hurting people more than it's helped. It's also given young people the feeling that they're entitled to walk around with up to 4 ounces of marijuana because our city ordinance does not have an age limit in it. Let's stop wasting our money on stuff that's unenforceable, and that in our ordinance says we will punish our police officers for doing their jobs. Let's just pull it off the books and save ourselves some money. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Williams. Mr. Rick Williams. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and esteemed council. Today, I come to speak to you on two items. First being low-level marijuana enforcement. Let me begin by saying, first of all, I am not in favor, personally, of marijuana being legalized. Second, I will say that this was brought to the public. It was put on the ballot. The overwhelming majority of the public chose to say, we wish to pursue this. That creates, in my mind, a dilemma. And as public officials, you swore to represent the broader spectrum of the public. If it is not immoral, or if it's not something that is totally and blatantly against the law, I would think that it's all right to pursue this. Laws and our Constitution are living documents. A law that was applicable in 1950 may not be appropriate in 2024 because times change. And we have to relook at our laws and how we live our life in order to make these things work. Would this particular ordinance need to be revised and be made more stringent? Absolutely. I have grandchildren that are growing up in this town. And I don't want my grandchildren to have the opportunity to go into some shop and buy some pot and be smoking. But still, the voters have spoken, and sometimes in order to get to the right decision, you got to travel the rough road. You're already on that road. So I would think it's all right to keep going until we get to the answer. And not only are we helping ourselves, but we're helping other jurisdictions, and we're helping the state to clarify where it will stand on this particular law. The second thing on my turn-in form was we are looking at possibly allowing Shy Motors to assume some property along 195. I am a proponent of, we have to determine what we want our city to look like. And, just because I'm a proponent of business, because business creates jobs and create tax revenue. And that we want, because we want to be a growing city that can provide services that are required by our consumers. However, we also want to be a pleasant place to live. And, when you're entering your city, what do you want your city to look like? We all know that car lots come and car lots go. Right around this city right now, we ride around, we can find lots of abandoned car lots. This is a used motor car lot. It's not Ford, GM, Toyota, something that's going to have deep pockets. The economy is on the precipice of a turndown. I read that tax rates or tax collection rates are on the downward side. So I encourage you to give great consideration before we say yes, just because, it's a business. We want to have a pleasant place to live, because remember, we're not just doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michael Tamez. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes, and if I mispronounce your last name, forgive me.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's Temez. Thank you, Mayor and council members, citizens. Appreciate the time. I'm here as owner's representation of item resolution number 10 in support of Avanti Legacy Westwood. We are really excited about this opportunity to come back to Killeen and provide more affordable housing to the city of Killeen. One person I also want to mention is staff. They've done a great job and have been a true partner of ours, and we are very much excited about coming back here to potentially bring another affordable housing community to Killeen. I'm here really just to answer any questions. If any citizens have any questions, the council has any questions, or anyone here would like to ask anything specific about the project. This will be an elderly community serving 55 and up residents. Just want to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Leo Gukeisen. Mr. Gukeisen. Good evening, good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Madam Mayor Pro Temp, council members, city manager, Mr. Cagle, and fellow residents. It was once said by President John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Very good words to follow and go by. First, I'd like to talk about RS 24026, the awarding the bid for the fire station. Great thing to do. It is something we've been needing for a long time. I know it's taken a while to get here, but it's finally gotten here, and I think it will benefit the citizens and the city for a long time coming. RS 24032, financial government policies. I just have a thing here. When this item is discussed, could the resolution 08168R identity theft program, could that possibly be explained in more detail? Because I looked for it, I could not find it. And also what is going to replace that within the policy. RS 24037, awarding the police department for their mental health. This is great news. For our police department and our citizens, it's a long time coming. Our first responders respond and see a lot of different types of situations that affect people differently. And this is just another tool on their belt to help them and to help the citizens of Killeen. RS 24041, approving appointment of an executive director for Public Works. Great decision on Mr. Reynolds. He's been there before. He's done a great job. And besides, it kind of saves the city a little money on a name tag, desk tag form since he already has one. And lastly, the DS 24013, State of Texas versus City of Killeen and Bell County versus City of Killeen. It's well known from the start of this whole agenda item that I have been up here stating that I am against this. And I have already explained my numerous reasons why, and I'm not going to repeat them now. You will hear or you have heard from numerous residents and non-residents addressing this matter and expressing their point of views. Though I might not agree with them, I do respect them for their point of views that they have. And that's what we're here for, to express all views so you can hear both sides. I do feel these court battles against Prop A is a losing battle. I feel the state does have the grounds to bring such action, and they will win. And this battle will end up costing the citizens of Killeen thousands of dollars, and those thousands of dollars could be spent on important city matters, like an individual brought up the roads and things like that. I know that they're already being addressed, but that's a little bit more money in the purse to help expedite our road situation. So tonight, when you discuss this agenda item, I hope and pray that you will look at both the pros and cons of this and put aside your personal thoughts on this and follow your oath of office and the laws of this great country and the great state of Texas. As it was brought up, things change, laws, the Constitution is a living document. I agree with that. But there are certain...
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Fornino. Mr. Fornino, sir, you have 4 minutes. And good afternoon.
Before I begin, I want the council to know that I'm getting texts from people at home watching on the live feed that once again, during citizen comments, the audio and video is suddenly, conveniently, suspiciously glitchy. That being said, how did we get here? With regard to the marijuana lawsuit, first off, your feet are already in it. If I were to rob a bank at 9 a.m. this morning and bring back the money by close of business, that make it any more right? No, it doesn't. Question was asked why the vote doesn't matter. Well, I hate to piss on somebody's parade, but the simple answer is the vote doesn't matter because we live in a republic. We do not live in a democracy. A republic is a structure of laws with ways to change it and ways to not to change it. Anybody who wants to fight me on that one, I can loan you my copy of Schoolhouse Rock. There's ways to do things. I've stated on the record numerous times. If the law is to change, I may not agree with it, but there's a way to do it. Okay? Law is not based on sentiment. You want sentiment? Watch an old Frank Capra movie. That doesn't apply here. Talk about circumstances. All right, let's be real. Nobody's going away for 30 years for one joint in their pocket. That's not happening. What they are going away for decades, is all the other things that Chief Lopez and his men and women find. Outstanding warrants, illegal weapons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to the people's lives being ruined over one joint, knock it off. It's stupid. It doesn't apply, and we know it. Okay? People want to bring up one race or another, or one ethnicity or another is targeted moreover than another. Okay, I rarely, if ever, I don't think I've ever been on the record talking about race. I care about race about as much as I do about some uncontacted tribe in the Amazon as what they had for breakfast this morning. If it comes down to race, that's just making excuses. I'm looking at the crime blotter all week long. What's next? Are we going to decriminalize assault with a deadly weapon, murder? Same thing. It comes down to making good choices, and everybody, I don't want my little boy or my little girl's life ruined. If the lady who spoke previously, if that happened where her kid got something planted on her, well, maybe that's a personal choice as to who you're hanging around with. That's got nothing to do with the law. Okay? Personal responsibility. This lawsuit, once again, we're going to hear the drivel, no doubt, going to hear the drivel, medical marijuana. Okay, that's just a time waster. Medical marijuana is not up for grabs. It's not on the subject matter. That's already codified into law. That's between a person and their doctor. But it doesn't solve the problem of supply and who's supplying it. Okay? If I go up and I get caught with whatever the amount is, I don't use it. But if I get caught with whatever amount or less, that doesn't solve the distributors, the dealers, the people who are aggressively expanding and defending their territory. That's where a lot of the violence comes from. And if I'm wrong, I would hope that Chief Lopez would come up here and correct me. You can't even control vape shops. KISD police doesn't want it on the record that's the vapes that the kids are getting caught in school with. Anything that's CBD, marijuana, cannabis, and whatever other formula you want to talk about, that's what the kids are getting caught with. They're not getting caught with tobacco derivatives. That's what's up for grabs. Nobody wants to talk about that. You can't control vape shops that you gave legal business licenses to, and now you think you can regulate control of marijuana? As I said before, time after time after time, there are so many more issues to this that you're not looking at. Look at Denver. Anybody here spent time in Denver? I have. Philadelphia? I have. You name any major city in the last couple of years that has decriminalized this garbage, and they'll tell you it was the wrong thing to do, but now we can't get the genie back in the bottle.
Thank you. Brandy Bale. Good afternoon, ma'am. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, council members, audience at large. My first topic is about the de-annexing of land on topic number 19. It's a well-known fact that money flows out of Killeen and not into it. When I had the pleasure of riding around and I see tremendous growth in other cities, Temple, for example, pre-COVID and after COVID, I have to ponder, why is the city that I have chosen to live in the last 17 years not experienced that growth? And it's not for the lack of good, if not great, hardworking citizens that I know Killeen residents to be. I asked the city council to consider not taking resources of any form away from our citizens. Next, I'm talking about decriminalizing marijuana. I am a U.S. veteran, having served 14 years and being medically retired due to wear and tear on my body, being in rapid deployment units most of my career. Now, having said that, me, my brothers, and my sister in arms literally have and are willing to give our lives for the defense of the rights of all Americans, if not the right of, and for the right of people that look different and act differently than me. I'm talking about all Americans and their rights. I believe in democracy and those rights. In saying that, the people have spoken and asked, and I ask and know, begging you, the City Council of Killeen, to defend the rights of people. We have the right to vote and govern ourselves within the scope of the law. Decreasing marijuana is not that. It's not saying that, hey, it's legal or anything like that. It's still against the law, and you will be ticketed and fined. But in this instance, you won't lose your life or the life of a loved one to a prison sentence for having marijuana. I know as a black, and I hate to say it, but it is what it is. I'm a black woman in America. I'm subjected to a whole different dichotomy of is BS, which is what it is. And so, people
Ms.
need help.
Brandy, you can't say BS.
Oh, okay, yes, I'm sorry. People need help with their anxiety, especially veterans. And, unfortunately, COVID has been an onslaught of anxiety for a lot of people. Once again, I would hate for someone to lose their life, to a prison sentence. And it's just that decriminating and getting a misdemeanor rather than a felony. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ken Wickerson? Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Ken Wilkerson, 2706 Ancestor Drive, Killeen, Texas. I'm here to speak on item 23. And as you all know, I was on council when we approved the ordinance that was voted on by 70% of our constituents. Where it gets complicated in having to make a decision like this, I understand that. And whichever way you decide, I respect either way you go. And to Mr. Gukaisen's words, I think this is the way we handle it. But I do worry that without noticing that you are being sued by the state, who actually put you in the seats? And I think that's who you're answerable to. And I understand that if they did something illegal, that you would say, no, we can't do that. But in fact, they didn't do anything illegal, or it would have never gotten to the ballot. It wasn't illegal in having them come out to the election sites and vote their conscience, to vote. And I assure you, 70% of Killeen does not smoke marijuana. Okay? It's just a thing of protecting what we have seen in the past become a situation where something, 3 ounces of marijuana, ends up maybe not ruining your life, but it definitely derails it for a little while. And I understand even the complexities of it even go further, making it a Schedule I drug in the United States and the federal system. I understand a lot of people have a concern for it, and they think that it's going to be the ruin of our society. But we did this. We followed our constituency. We said, yes, okay, we'll back you. And now, at the slightest sign of any type of pushback, well, I won't say that because actually the DA at Bell County said they were going to sue us too, and nothing came of that. But for an AG who is currently under the cloud of quite a few charges himself, to then sue his own state, to sue his own cities, the ones that he's supposed to be serving, I think that kind of speaks for itself in the sense that which side do you want to be on? And I said this before when I was on the council. I didn't say that absolutely yes in my individual stance, but I said let the courts determine whether or not it's legal. So it's playing out exactly the the way it's supposed to be played out. A judge will determine whether it's legal or not. And even the opinions of attorneys that get up here and talk forever, the right place to decide this is at the court. And I don't think you will go down in history well if you then repeal it just because you're being threatened by the state. So whatever you determine, I'm sure it will be in your conscience and your best choice, and I'll respect you for it, but I ask you to think about that before you do it. Actually think about who got you into those seats and who you're representing as opposed to the AG. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Bass. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Council members, I'm not here to give you advice regarding the AG's lawsuit. I think our city attorneys need to make the call on that. What I'm here to say is that 70% of the voters in Killeen expressed their will that we should stop arresting people in our city for using cannabis as long as they are not committing any other crimes. Our council listened to the voters of Killeen and implemented Prop A with some common sense modifications. What happened after that? The answer is nothing bad happened. The city did not fall apart. The crime rate did not go up, as far as I can tell. No more people were using cannabis than used it before. The good thing that happened is exactly what we voters intended. Our police officers can concentrate their time and resources on more serious crimes. But the Bell County Commissioners and the Texas Attorney General decided they don't care what the people of Killeen want. They decided to file lawsuits against we, the people of Killeen. They decided that they want to exercise power over our city and boss us around and arrest and incarcerate people who do not need to be arrested and incarcerated. This is a miscarriage of justice. This is government officials meddling in our local affairs when they need to mind their own business and take care of county and state level issues that are much more important than Prop A. I don't like it. It's not just. Just like the current marijuana laws in Texas are not just. So thank you for listening to the voters of Killeen. Thank you for doing what was right and what was just. If the Bell County Commissioners and the AG want to be unjust, to exercise their power in the name of an unjust law, that's on their conscience. We, the people of Killeen, did the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. We do not clap. Mr. Michael Siegel. Good afternoon, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Mike Siegel. I am the General Counsel for Ground Game Texas, one of the groups that helped put Proposition A on the ballot, and I have appeared in the lawsuit where Bell County sued Killeen about this ordinance. And I'm here just to say thank you, first of all. Thank you for honoring the will of the people by investing in a great legal strategy. And that strategy is bearing fruit right now. I'm not sure everyone in the room knows that because of the great defense work of Killeen's attorneys, this case is queued up in the Third Court of Appeals, and they're going to decide this issue. And the Ken Paxton lawsuit is entirely redundant. It's about the same exact thing that the Third Court of Appeals has already been fully briefed on, and they're going to make a decision on any day now. So there's no need to steer away from the course you have taken. You've already made the investment. You've already hired the lawyers. They've already made the strong arguments. And really at the core of this, and this is something I want to say for the folks who've been speaking so far, at the core of this is the Texas Constitution and your authority as leaders of a home rule city. When this state was created, home rule cities had all the powers of self-governance, which means y'all have self-determination here in Killeen. And some of that has been stripped away, but not this right. You have control over your police department to allocate scarce resources. We know there's a lot more crimes on the books than the police department can enforce. There's wage theft. There's white-collar crime. There's a lot of offenses that your police are not able to adequately investigate. And so it's entirely reasonable to say it's too expensive, it's too wasteful to mess with people for low-level marijuana possession when we have bigger fish to fry. And especially when they changed the law. The Texas legislature in 2019 updated the law. They said we're going to legalize low-potency marijuana, so-called hemp, which is basically marijuana with a lower concentration of THC. And they didn't make any provision for police departments that now have the risk. Someone could be smoking or eating a legal substance, and your police department can't tell without an expensive chemical test. You could violate someone's constitutional rights for possessing a legal substance. And so now it's much more expensive to prosecute marijuana possession. And that's on top of the fact that we know that enforcement historically has been racially discriminatory and biased against the black community. And one of the things that Ground Game Texas did is we measured the cost, the savings that y'all have earned by deprioritizing. Let's be clear, we haven't decriminalized. We have deprioritized. Because you can still bust people for major drug offenses. You can still bust people when they have weed associated with a violent offense. Those things the police can still do. So we've just deprioritized personal use. And for every 100 arrests you've decreased, you have saved taxpayers probably $300,000 or more. When you figure in the cost of police and police vehicles and police services, county prosecutors, public defenders, crime labs, courts, jails. I mean, there are dozens of people at any one time in Bell County Jail for misdemeanor marijuana arrests. You know, as someone said, their lives are being ruined for this offense. So I came out here today really to thank y'all for doing what's right, for standing up for the Texas Constitution, for the voters of Killeen, for standing up for what's right. And I hope you will continue to defend Prop A in court. You've already made the major investment. Ken Paxton's lawsuit just piggybacks on what the Bell County commissioners already did. There's not much more work to do. Let's let the third court make its decision. And frankly, y'all could be heroes for the state, right? If Killeen stands up for this ordinance and the third court rules with you, then all the other cities can follow suit. You've set the example. Maybe it was more money than you planned to expend on legal services, but y'all can really be heroes in this case and do what's right for the people. With that, I would just say that as someone who is a 13-year attorney, I was an assistant city attorney in the city of Austin. I am very impressed by your
Sir,
outside counsel.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care, y'all.
Thank you all for coming out tonight to share your comments with the council. Council, do anyone have anything to say? If so, you only have 1 minute. With that being, okay, Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand we're going to go into closed session to discuss this in the future.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the meeting, rather. I'm just, as a council member, I'll speak for myself. I'm curious amongst our citizens what that appetite is to continue this lawsuit, which would cost additional money. And that's just a comment I'll make. And I'm not saying whether I'm for it or against it at this point, but that's something that's been on my mind, how interested we are in continuing this lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just only going to, the Prop A was already discussed, so I'm going to talk about a question that was asked about the Animal Advisory Committee.
About Mr. Cagle,
yeah,
they're volunteers.
Right, they're
Okay.
citizen, okay.
Go ahead.
These are citizen volunteers, and they don't work for the city, they're there to help advise us on how we conduct animal services.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams and staff. As we move forward and you do your presentation, there were some questions that were asked by our citizens. And if you wrote them down or remember them, please address them. And also, I would like to say to our residents that came out tonight to speak on certain items, you have access to our city staff if you have any questions that may not be answered tonight, and also council members and Mr. Cagle before our meeting next week, and that is when we will vote. Discussion items for regular city council meeting on February 27, 2024. Minutes. Madam Secretary.
LMN 24005, consider minutes of regular city council meeting of January 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Resolutions. Council, you have 5 minutes to speak twice. Madam Secretary.
RS 24026, consider memorandum resolution awarding bid number 2419, Fire Station Number 4, EOC Training Facility Project to MW Builders in the amount of $22,184,000.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Zagers, Mrs. Drake, and Chief Kabinski.
That's correct, Mayor. We're
All
going
right.
to tag team this whole
Yes,
presentation
sir.
here.
Well, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, fellow council members. So we're here to present the bid award for Fire Station Number 4 EOC, Emergency Operations Center Complex, for construction to MW Builders. As you're aware, the project includes construction of the new Fire Station Number 4 off of Tremere Road, an Emergency Operations Center, and a support service building is what we want to propose for this. As you recall, in fiscal year 2022, in the original capital improvement plan, there was $11,900,000 that was through ARPA funding that was to go towards an Emergency Operations Center. And that was approved. Later on, in the discussion of 2023, I believe it was the summer, is when we added $5.7 million additional to this project, and that was focused solely on the fire station construction itself, even though it was part of the overall project in the main building itself, as we'll see. This funding was requested based on construction prices at that time and as we're anticipating. Of course, due to the design and we were working on it, we noticed that construction costs were going up and we had to have some sort of alternative in order to move this project forward. The emphasis is obviously the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, and the fire station, as well as the site work. So when we created the bid documents, we had it to where we had the base bid was just going to be that one building and the site. And then in order to get prices, depending on how bids were received, and we determined on how much money we had available compared to what the bids were, we put alternatives for the remaining buildings. So the support service building, even though it's on the same site, we named an alternative to build that. And then the fire training tower and structures, which is another part, we had another alternative to get a separate price on that. And then what we would do is when we reviewed it, we can pick and choose the alternatives if we had money available. And this allowed us to keep things moving, get the main building moving forward and get it going. So this is kind of a picture of what the base bid alternatives were. So the base bid's that main building in front, which is the EOC, the fire station. The alternative number 1 was the support service building in the back. That's for the maintenance, the storage, the when there's a maintenance on the vehicles or anything they need to upgrade, certainly we have the consultants come in, or our support services, they have somewhere to do it, and then safe storage as well as operation and maintenance in a central location. And then the second alternative is that training facility, training tower in the back. So just a little background, Martinez Architects was the consultant that was selected last year to provide professional services for this project and bidding, and as well as construction support. Bids were open on this and allowed on January 17th of this year. We received 2 bids, but only one was not considered incomplete, so we had to move forward with the one which was MW Builders. We did receive documents from ICGM Group, but it was an incomplete bid. And then, as part of the architectural design, when we were working on this, as we prepared for the bidding, Martinez did have a consultant to provide a cost estimate and kind of give us a heads up of where the prices were and how to best prepare for the bids. So they hired AGCM to provide kind of a construction level estimate based on the current prices as it was last summer to help us with our determination. And again, like I said, we only received one bid from M&W Builders that was consistent. It was consistent with the bid, with the estimates that we had in the summer. So that's why we're here to make that recommendation to move forward. And then next, we're going to go over budget. So we'll have Ms. Miranda Drake show up.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Drake.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So for the funding, we have $11 million of ARPA funding for the EOC and fire operations. We have $5.2 million for Fire Station 4 that was from the FY21 excess fund balance. That gives you $16.3 million that's budgeted. The base bid come in at $17.2 million. And alternate one that's being recommended is $5 million, so that's a total of $22.2 million. So the shortfall is 5.9. And what we're recommending is that we use the governmental CIP fund balance unassigned has 1.9 million. And then we are estimating 4.5 million in excess fund balance once the audit's delivered in March. And these would come at the mid-year budget amendment in April. And that would cover this shortfall here.
Questions for Mrs. Drake, Councilmember Boyd? No one? Oh, Councilmember Sagara has a question for you.
Yeah, because I was looking at, we got the fire station, and then what we're saying is, with this price, we're including the additional alternative, which is like the storage and all that, in this. And the only thing that we're not including is a training center. Is that, am I understanding it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the 5 million shortfall will get us 2 buildings, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure I got this cleared. Thank you. And one more, I should ask this. What is the shortfall for the third building? And I don't know if you got that one.
1.6 million.
So if we do the third building, it's just 1.6. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Chief Kabinski.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, and council members. We'll wrap this up with some additional information that should help. Just as a refresher, the location of the new facility has an official address. It is 9200 Tremere Road. This is adjacent to the KISD transportation facility, and it's approximately 14.4 acres, as you'll see here outlined in blue. Some renditions for you to, again, review. These are things we've shared previously, but the front structure is, again, the fire station number 4. The first floor would be the fire station living quarters and offices for the fire training academy staff. Second floor would be the classroom and the EOC facility. Over in the back is the support services building. Back and to the left would be that live fire training tower, which is what we're not recommending tonight, and I'll expand a little bit more on that if needed. Again, just a different view and a different rendition. This will be a 4-bay fire station. The vision with this is to future growth is what we're looking at here. Right now, it's an engine and an ambulance that is slotted for that station, so that would only need 2 bays, but we're looking at future growth. What ISO gives us a recommendation for what should be put in there. Do we reallocate other vehicles from other locations and stations over there? We want to make sure that our ISO rating stays intact, so we're going to look, once we break ground, as to what is best suited to be put in this station, so it gives us the ability for future growth. I think I need to be more patient with the clicker. Maybe. need to be much more gentle. This is a view from the north side of the building. This would be the main entrance to the Fire Academy and the Emergency Operations Center. And again, a lobby on the first floor where the principal secretary would be located, secured entry for, again, staff, academy, students, cadets, and the Emergency Operations Center and emergency management staff. This is our Fire Department Support Services building. We took a page out of the book from the Aviation Services and from Mike Wilson, and are looking at a 3-wide hangar bay door. That allows us to have a little bit more storage of vehicles inside, as opposed to just being stuck with a single wide bay that the vehicles have to move in and out of. Also, again, with the help of Martinez Architects, talking and input from the troops as well, having deep parking spaces to put apparatus when they come in to train, because even outside of the live fire training tower, that's a future expansion project, a future build. This is something that having ability to park vehicles is kind of important, because right now they just try to figure out a spot, take up a few, 7, 8 spaces. We want to be, again, forward thinking in this project. So if this is approved at next week's meeting, the time frame, I know everybody's asking, contract negotiation, the notice proceed would take about 4 weeks. Groundbreaking would take place after the notice to proceed is issued, but it would take about 3 weeks to do that. So a week till next week's meeting, another 7 weeks. So 2 months from now is when we'd be looking at groundbreaking, and you see dirt moving on site. It would take us 18 months for substantial completion of the project, another month after that for complete closeout of the project, and then a 1-year warranty period for this project. We have 4 alternatives for you tonight. There's a lot of words on here. Number 1, reject all bids and not move forward with the project. Option number 2, award bid 2419 to MW Builders for the Fire Station 4 EOC training facility, the base bid. Additional alternate 1 and additional alternate 2, that's $23,818,000, which is roughly $1.6 million over the allocated funds that we have identified for this project. Option number 2, which is the base bid only, which is the amount of $17,197. That would just be Fire Station 4 with the EOC in the Training Academy classrooms. And then option 4 is the award of the base bid and additional alternate 1, which is the support services building that is behind the main building of the fire station. And our recommendation to you tonight is to award the base bid along with additional alternate 1 in the amount of $22,184,000, and authorize the city manager as designee to enter into a contract with MW Builders to execute all and any change orders within the amount set by state and local law. And I have Aaron Holscher and Lester Colley, who are from MW Builders, based out of Pflugerville, is where they're based, so somewhat local, regional. And I also have Martinez Architects here as well, who are able to answer questions as they are our design team. And quite honestly, I just need to say that the entire team, not just from MW Builders and their time put into this project, Martinez Architects, but finance, engineering, the entire team has put a lot of work and effort into this. We know this is a significant investment into the community, and not an easy decision when you're talking about this kind of dollars. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. And your option number 2 was 17 million. I wish it was 17,000.
That would be nice.
Yes, sir. You have some questions, probably, I don't know from which one of you. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question for the chief. But first, I'm a little surprised to just see 2 bidders. And I did notice the first bidder, ISCGM Group, for whatever reason, failed to submit complete documentation, which naturally disqualified them from the process, and rightfully so. On the other hand, winning bidder, MW Builders, proved to be positioned to take on this large project. I do believe the design we've seen, they'll be able to deliver as we've seen it. This group is responsible for the North Park 35 project outside Georgetown, where the Costco is, those distribution centers. So confident we'll have a building look similar to what's designed by the architect. Nice design. Very much appreciate the design. It's something that's new for the area. But to get to my question, Chief, can you speak to the importance of alternative 2? And can you talk about what plan may be in place to accomplish that in the near future?
Absolutely. Alternative 2 is extremely important. It's a live fire training tower, and currently our firefighters work out of a 20-year-old set of 3 Connex boxes that were welded together by a bunch of firefighters who said 20 years ago, we need something to train, and that's how they get their live fire training. So it's extremely important. However, and this is in conjunction with our Martinez and MW Builders, the builders have to put a markup on it if it's going to be part of their project. This is a company that when we looked at the structure that we need, even though we don't have the funds available for it now, we can probably get this building built, this structure built, for about 30% less than the 1.6 million. So that's number one, is we can save taxpayer dollars. What we're going to need to do is put together a decision package for capital improvement project season. Budget season is upon us, and we're going to work with the city manager. I know he can speak on it a little bit more in ways of capital improvement projects and funding that may come up and be available. We're actively trying to look for grants as well. Again, we're looking at about $1 million to a $1.1 million grant to be able to build this project. So it is important, and we have a plan B in place to try to allocate funding, but not awarding it in this bid, I think, is a recommendation that can save taxpayer dollars, and we can get it probably closely in time or shortly after the main project is completed.
Understood. Thank you for that information, and thank you for staff working together so well to pull this off. Thank you.
Chief, as you went through the options that was on the slide, the alternatives for the council, one of my concerns, and I guess I heard it tonight from residents, what is the benefit of building this, other than it is much needed fire station, but what are some other benefits for it?
We have a lot of benefits. First and foremost, this will consolidate 4 buildings or areas that the fire department is currently operating into one. Condor Park Station, which is the old Fire Station 2 over on Condor and Terrace, that's currently where the firefighting operations personnel do their training out of now. That will be vacated. That is now additional space for parks or whatever city manager and city council and staff decide that vacated piece of property will be. It's also not conducive for us to be doing live fire training in the middle of a neighborhood, and that's where we do our live fire training right now. The emergency management works out of the Arts and Activity Center on the 2nd floor. That will now be located into a area that will be ADA compliant. Where they were looking to build out in the 2nd floor of the Arts and Activities Center is not ADA compliant, and that's something that's important. Our support services staff currently work out of the old Station 1 on Avenue D. That's a 50-year-old building. That building is 8,500 square feet, and they're going to move into a 17,000 square foot building. It was an old fire station that, again, we made do with what we had at the time, but quite honestly, that building is not designed to be a support services building where you do minor maintenance on vehicles, store bunker gear, store tools and equipment, store the things that make the fire department run, uniforms, stuff like that. And the Fire Academy, currently located on 28th Street and Veterans Memorial Boulevard, where our high school kids go and earn their certifications, where our adults go to get their certifications and become future firefighters in Killeen, is now going to be located in that same building. That building will be vacated, and we're going to move administration over there eventually. It'll be a backup EOC, but most importantly, Central Station has 13 people that work out of it, and they're in tight quarters right now. We will move our administrative personnel out of the other side of Central Station and give our firefighters some much needed relief, and also move their fitness equipment out of the hot bay floor into a conditioned and air controlled space. That was a lot of stuff that would be an advantage to our firefighters.
Yes, sir, and that was the part I wanted the public to hear. It's more in detail. It's just not everybody look at the amount that we're paying for, but it has a multi-purpose for not only the residents, but because we need a much-needed fire station, but also for our firefighters to have that room, that space. You have to exercise for stress relief. So it's so many benefits from it. And where you located, you're right next door to the Career Center. So it has so many advantages if we build it in that location and what is needed to build it and the design. So thank you for going more in detail.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I guess that, I'm sorry, Councilmember Adams, I apologize.
That's all right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First question was already answered about the future budget opportunities. I know that building is good for now. and, well, actually our immediate future, is there does the building have, I guess this is an engineering question, is the buildings that we're planning on building, do they have the ability to expand if necessary?
I can answer that. If we go back and look at the support services building, that was built with the intention of expansion. We have covered storage that's out here. If you take a look right here, this is covered storage for parking of ambulances in a shaded area that might not be inside. But if you look, those are beams, and that's 18 foot high. That future expansion, that can be constructed into interior space.
Okay. And then the next question, that road, that stretch of road from Stagecoach to Chaparral is starting to get a little busy. What's the timeline for road improvements? Because that may become an issue for the residents on that street eventually, if not already.
So I think right now that's the priority of that widening Tremere is going to probably be timeline after Chaparral. We got to focus on Chaparral, and hopefully, depending on funding, working with K-Tempo, making sure it's on the list. I think right now it is an unfunded list on K-Tempo's scope for the TIP. We just have to work with trying to find more grant funding, finding the dollars to do it. And then as development is coming in, taking advantage of having those developers, having the fire station widen that portion of the road while it gets developed.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Adams, that's one of the things you can push for us, because you on K-Tempo. Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't really have a question. I just have a quick comment. And my comment, I know that during COVID, we went through a lot. Everybody here at the city, police department, our staff went through a lot, but our fire department, they were on the front lines there. And I don't know if we would be here approving this, with $11.9 million that we got from the COVID. So I just want to say all that bad stuff that we went through, at least, we can attribute good things that we're using this for, and especially for our firefighters who were the ones that were in the front lines. And so I think it's great that we're doing this. And in the future, we can look at this fire station and say, that's our COVID fire department. So great job. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And this is a great story in the fact that we're able to say that this type of a project is not being funded with any debt. Mr. Cagle and I have talked about this many times, that this has an opportunity to be funded without passing or issuing any debt. It's a cash project, which is a great story for the city of Killeen.
Thank you, Councilmember Sagara. Councilmember Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, I've been out to the site, and I think it's a good location in which you was telling me you had a good vision. I want to thank the entire team for what y'all have done. I wanted to ask you, how many personnel will this hold? Or you plan, what is the plan? Or will you have an additional personnel that you need to hire?
The fire station is going to require additional personnel. That will be 24 additional personnel, and we have put plans in place along with Mr. Cagle and getting those personnel hired. The first step is to try to get grant funding. There's a FEMA grant called SAFER, Staffing for Adequate Fire Emergency Resources, or Fire Emergency Response, I apologize. So we have one more opportunity to try to get some staffing funding for that. That is up to 3 years of funding for those personnel. So we are diligently watching for when that grant is released again. We've tried twice the last 2 years, and only about 7% of applicants get their funding approved through that grant nationwide. But that's not going to stop or deter us. Third time is a charm, I'm a believer with that. So we're going to give it our third try on that staffing. If not, there have been plans put in place. Mr. Cagle could speak to a little bit more on our Plan B to be able to fund those firefighters to be able to staff the station.
Thank you, Chief. And my second and last question, your alternate 2 plan, which is great, and you express how important it is. 1.6, you said it would cost, of course I would lower it probably about 30%, you said?
Roughly, yes, sir.
Okay. My question is, the increase, if you wait, you said we would have to wait until probably after this the base bid is built. That's 18 months. Will the cost increase for this alternate too?
There would be, there'd be a slight increase. If you would oblige me, I'd ask our members from MW Builders who are in the construction business, who have seen what the increases are doing month over month, could speak a little bit more as to what that estimate would look like. Yes, there'd be an increase, but we don't suspect it would be similar to what that 30% markup we're seeing to have MW Builders oversee the construction of that. So if I could ask them to come up with the mayor's permission.
Oh, yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Will you please state your name for the record?
My name is Lester Colley, and thank y'all for having us here. And yes, there would be an increase. From when the fire tower bid back in November to when it bid in January, it was probably about a 4% increase. So it went up slightly, which everybody was expecting steel prices to go up slightly at the first of the year, and they did. So if you wait 18 months, you would definitely see another increase.
Okay, but not a huge increase.
I wish I could answer that for you. It's a difficult one to answer. Some steel stays good year-round. With slight increases, you never know.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mrs. Drake, Mr. Zager, and Chief Kabinski, the council, we thank you for everything you have presented to us tonight. And I can speak for the council that the residents' safety, their lives are very important, and they stand behind our first responders. So we thank you all for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24027, consider a memorandum resolution to revise the Crime Solutions Committee bylaws and amend the committee membership structure.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since getting put on the Crime Solutions Committee, the committee elected me as the chair. So council knows this, whatever council member that serves is not automatically the chair. Next slide. So here's some background. So, right now, the city of Harker Heights and Killeen ISD are not participating on the committee as members at this time. So we were adjusting the bylaws to reflect that makeup. At our January 31st meeting, we voted the bylaws as they are now to change to a 12-member plus one ad hoc member structure as follows: one City of Killeen council member, one community member from each of the council districts appointed by each district council member, one at-large community member appointed by the entire city council, Bell County representative, Fort Cavazos representative, City of Killeen business representative, faith-based organization representative, youth organization representative, and a YAC representative as an ad hoc non-voting member. The changes you see are the 4 district reps and the YAC reps, and then taking off Harker Heights and KSD. Next slide. And it is by vote of the Crime Solutions Committee, we recommend the council approve the new bylaws. Or the updated bylaws, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Adams, I have a quick question for you. I have 2 things I'm very concerned about. Why should we keep this committee? And what did it do that was successful? And my third question is, what is the purpose?
Can you answer that first?
Okay, I'm gonna let you answer all of them. But you get all of them. Basically, what I'm asking, what is the purpose of the Crime Solution Committee, and were you all successful?
Well, since I've been on here, the committee approved a new mission and purpose, which is to make recommendations in conjunction with the chief of police and to propose or lead in conducting community activities that address certain things. We nailed down, after a brief by the chief of police, a specific, what was the major crime issue. Now, the first item that we're pushing is the youth walk, because we found that domestic violence was the number one crime that was being committed, and then aggravated assaults, and we found that a lot of youth were involved. And then now we're looking at more, I can't remember which specific, I wish you came unprepared to answer that question. There was a specific, we're adding another focus area so that we're not just one. We wanted to see, because it was a test fund, to see if that would work, and now we're starting to add to the committee's business. And so we're going to, on a regular basis, come back to the council to make recommendations on things, either changes to ordinances or activities, whatever. We see ourselves as an active committee.
So
to
could you
back.
come back in 6 months and give us an update? I just want to see
I think-
how is it working? Is it working? And if it's not working, then that's some extra activity that maybe Chief Lopez and his officers can move into or to look at.
I think that would
Then
be
having-
appropriate.
Okay.
And the committee we did address that. It was necessary for the committee to come back to council to give updates on a regular basis.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Boyd.
I was just going to say that I think the recently adjusted makeup for the committee actually offers the best representation for the community as relates to discussing crime and potential solutions. Of course, these things have to work through the police department for implementation, but I do think this is a relevant committee that will benefit this city in the future. Sure, it's been rough getting off the ground and sustaining it, but it does, in my opinion, play a vital role for the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Segarra.
Thank you, Mayor. And my question is, and Mr. Adams said he attended a few meetings. How has the attendance been on that?
Let's see, we've had one instance where we did not have a quorum, or it may have been cases where the individuals show up a little later. We are restricted somewhat because we are using staff time for the administrative stuff, so we meet from 4 to 5. And so with this, it's going to see a change in one of the members because they haven't been attending. And then the hope is that this everybody will show up because the quorum size will change. And if it doesn't work, we can always address it or replace it.
Yeah, and I say that because that was the original issue. When it first started, they had an issue of membership, and we were going to dissolve it, and we had a whole bunch of people here in the audience saying that not to do that. And I think at that time, we probably had a little bit of more attendance, but then after that, I just was wondering if it started way off again. And so with the representation of the different people that you're amending the bylaws to, I look at that and, from like Fort Cavazos, Bell County, and to me, and this is just me, I think that we're still going to be challenged a little bit as far as how many people show up for that. And then the other aspect, and our Mayor Pro Tem brought up, is, what is, we know what the purpose is. The purpose obviously is to lower crime, but are they doing anything that, as she mentioned, our police department is not doing? Because I know that domestic violence, we've known that for many years, almost 80%. So it's nothing new that we did not know, and again, nothing to take away from it. It's just you set a right tone, give them a purpose, and say, this is what we want to see. If it's doable, if it's not, with all good intentions, then are the people here just not motivated enough to just say, we're not really going to make a difference. So, but I think coming back in a few months would be a good idea. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I can add, we've also started to see an increase of non-committee members to show up, to ask questions and present their views on things.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. I mean, I only have a concern. It's simple to me. I know when we first started the crime solution, we had a mission statement. And I really, at this point, don't even know just reading what I read and talking over with Mr. Cagle. I don't know Chief Lopez's viewpoint on it. I don't know how we got away from our mission. That's my first question, because that was a mission that we started off, and it's not to solve crime. It's not to use other resources, because now it's just like any other committee. So Can you explain that to me? Because now we're doing domestic and a walk from what the former Mayor Pro Tem original intent was when he brought it. Now, we can continue this, but what is the mission?
The mission is still, just as you said, to come up with ways to address crime before it happens, and then to address what type, like victim services afterwards, and then be an outreach for the police department and the community.
Okay, okay.
So we're not here to try to fight crime.
Okay. I just didn't see it clearly in this, but that is the intent. Thank you, that's all I needed. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just got one quick question. Can I come? Okay, that's what I need to know.
All right, anyone else? Well, Councilmember Adams, thank you for taking the leadership role on that and working, and Chief Lopez, I know you have to be at the meetings and our city staff has to be at the meeting, and that commitment, along with your other responsibilities. Thank you for that, and I thank you, Councilmember Adams, just taking the initiative it didn't work, whatever way you were going, and you took the initiative to try to change it, and you're going to come back with a report or the update in 6 months, and we'll make a decision from there. Did I understand you correctly? Okay, sir. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24028. Consider memorandum resolution declaring a vacancy on the Arts Commission and appointing a new member to fill the vacancy. And good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to
Be
click.
gentle.
I know. Be gentle.
I feel a little low battery.
It says it's full. Thank you, Francisco. The City of Killeen has various citizen boards, commissions, and committees that serve in an advisory capacity. Board, commission, and committee members are expected to maintain regular attendance at meetings. The city's Code of Ordinances, Section 2-118, outlines the procedure for removal of a member for missing 3 consecutive meetings or more than 25% of the meetings in a 12-month period where the board, commissioner, committee meets more than 4 times per year. In January 2024, the Arts Commission chairperson sent a letter to the city manager's office notifying staff that one of the commissioners had excessive absences during a 12-month period and requested city council declare the position vacant and assign a replacement for the position. The current at-large member for the Arts Commission is Sean Payton. Mr. Payton was appointed by City Council to serve on the commission beginning October 1st, 2022, and his term expires on September 30th, 2025. The City Council has the options to remove Mr. Payton from his position, declare a vacancy and appoint an individual to fill the vacancy, or not remove Mr. Payton and not declare a vacancy, and he can continue to serve on the commission. Per the city's Code of Ordinances, it is recommended that the City Council declare a vacancy and appoint an individual to fill the at-large vacancy on the Arts Commission. The current applicants for the Arts Commission have been provided to council for consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have any, we only have 3 people. Mayor Pro Tem, you have a nomination.
I would like to make a nomination, a motion to,
No, it's just
a nomination of Sandra Tremont to the Arts Commission.
Sharon Tremont. Madam Secretary, do she serve on any other committee?
Not that I am aware of, Madam Mayor.
Because we want to ensure that we give everyone an opportunity if they hadn't already served on one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
I was going to second that.
Okay, it's okay. So we have a motion for Sandra, who? Twyman. Everybody in agreement? Just raise your hand, say nod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we have a nomination person. All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilwoman Gonzalez and Madam Secretary. Madam Secretary.
RS 24029, consider a memorandum resolution amending the joint election contracts with Killeen Independent School District and the Tax Appraisal District of Bell County. And good evening again.
Good evening, Madam Secretary.
On January 30th, 2024, City Council approved joint election contracts with the Killeen Independent School District and the Tax Appraisal District of Bell County. The contracts for election services covers early voting and election day cost sharing and obligations. Since the contracts were approved, BellCAD has decided to withdraw their request to hold a joint election as the entity plans to conduct their own election in May 2024. Additionally, KISD has proposed changes to the joint election contracts for KISD voters. The proposed contract changes are for early voting. Killeen ISD voters in Bell County, except for voters within the city limits of Harker Heights, may vote at KISD Jackson Professional Learning Center during early voting. And Election Day, all KISD voters in Bell County residing within a City of Killeen precinct may vote at a city polling place on Election Day. A red line version of the updated contracts was included in the meeting packet for review. The upfront election costs are paid by the city, and KISD will reimburse the city for 1/2 of all shared expenses. The estimated cost to conduct the May 2024 general election is $100,000.
Wow.
And staff recommends City Council approve the resolution amending the joint election contracts with KISD and BellCAD and authorize the city manager or designee to execute the amended agreements. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm gonna yield the floor to Councilman Boyd. Because
Take my photograph. Second time I asked you.
Sir, please, Mr. Cochran, stop right now, please. Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran?
Get him out.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to call this meeting back at 6:42. We had to take a break because there was a disagreement, confrontation between KDH reporter and Mr.
I think it's Mr.
Cochran. So that was, it disrupted our meeting, and that's why we had to take a break. We will now move forward. Madam Secretary.
Madam Mayor, I had a question before we.
I'm sorry, was that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're
just-
still on RS-24-029?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Did Bell County specify why they determined to withdraw from holding a joint election?
BellCAD was having to contract with various municipalities throughout Bell County, and it was becoming more complex than they were ready to deal with, so they thought that it would be an easier route to conduct their own election and set up a few polling sites throughout the county.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Madam Secretary.
RS 24030, consider a memorandum resolution to appoint members to the Animal Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the item to make appointments to Animal Advisory Committee. A little bit of history, City Council makes annual appointments to boards and commissions and committees each year and throughout the year as vacancies occur. Last year, we had several vacancies occur on this committee. In May of 2023, the city official position was vacated, and then in October 2023, 2 citizen positions were vacated. The veterinarian position is also vacant at this time, and because of the number of vacancies, that has prevented the committee from meeting. Here today for your discussion is to look at 3 vacant positions. One, the city official position. Assistant City Manager Lori Wilson is available for the city official position. And then there are also 5 applicants for the 2 vacant citizen representatives. One citizen, just to note, one citizen representative, the term, these are 2-year terms, and the term, one will end in October 24, and one will end October 25. So we need one citizen for the one that will end this year and the one that will end next year as well. There is a subcommittee. Councilmember Riacos Adams is the subcommittee member on this, and so the staff's recommendation is that the city council appoint 1 city official and 2 citizen members to fill the identified unexpired terms.
Thank you. Recommendations?
Madam Mayor, Council, I wish to recommend, it's almost already dictated, Ms. Lori Wilson to fill the city official position, and Leslie Holman for the first vacancy that ends in October, and Kendra Hickman for the vacancy that ends the following year. Neither of the citizens on any other boards or commission or involved with the city at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams, for looking at that, bringing on new residents to serve. Thank you. Councilmember Solomon, did you want to agree with Councilmember? Yes. Okay. Is the council okay with that? All right. So we have our recommendation. Thank you, Councilmember Adams and Attorney Clemens. Madam Secretary.
RS 24031, consider a memorandum resolution granting an operating authority to Longhorn Taxi. And, yes,
Madam
ma'am.
Secretary.
That's my item
Secretary,
again.
you on.
Last one
Yes,
for me.
ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, provides the manner by which an operating authority is granted in order to promote adequate and efficient ground transportation within the city. An applicant must file an application, fee, and supporting documentation to the city secretary's office. Upon city council approval of an operating authority, the operating authority is valid for 5 years. Additionally, the city secretary's office will provide a vehicle permit for each vehicle approved in the operating authority. The window sticker permits expire annually on December 31st. A renewal application, along with the required fee, shall be submitted to the city secretary to renew a vehicle permit each calendar year. Drivers must also obtain a driver's permit from the police department. On January 17th, 2024, Longhorn Taxi submitted an application, paid the required fee, and supplied the proper supporting documents to be in compliance with Chapter 29. The application is complete and provides for transportation services from any established pickup point in the city of Killeen. The company will operate a total of 3 vehicles, which are listed on the screen. Before you is the fiscal impact of granting the operating authority for the current fiscal year and in future fiscal years. And staff recommends the city council grant the operating authority to Longhorn Taxi as the application requirements have been met. And I'm willing to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We can move on to the next item.
RS 24032, consider a memorandum resolution to readopt the financial governance policy to include the investment policy as amended and repeal resolutions 08168R, Identity Theft Program, and 18-026R, Capital Projects Policy.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and good evening, Mrs. Tangleman.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. I presented these slides last workshop meeting. We have a minor change, so I'm just going to go through it really quick.
Yes, ma'am.
The financial governance policy is the comprehensive source for financial policies in the city, and includes the investment policy that it needs to be reviewed annually. The requested changes were in Section 8, and then just to add a designee to accept the donated property, and just note Mr. Cagle. And then also we did some cleaning up in the user fees and rates to be in compliance with the charter. Then we also did some amending examples that we have in there for the water rates and for the sewer rate samples and the governance policy. And we also clarify fund balances requirement. We are incorporating the following resolutions and the financial governance policy, and it is the identity theft program policy. That is not a new policy, it's not replacing anything. It was a resolution that we were going to appeal and just put it into the governance policy, that way we can review it annually. And we also incorporating the capital projects policy, and we're gonna repeal resolution 18026 for that one. The alternative is to readopt without amendments, to revise the amendments, and readopt and do not repeal the resolutions as proposed. Revise the amendments, readopt and repeal the resolutions as proposed, or accept the amendments, readopt and repeal the resolutions as proposed. Sorry, I had to read the alternatives. The recommendation is that City Council readopt the financial governance policy to include the investment policy as amended, and repeal resolutions 08160AR, identity theft program, and 18026R, capital projects policy. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer.
No, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tingling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, let's go.
RS 24033, consider a memorandum resolution awarding RFP 2404 security guard services at the main library to Security Resonance Team Incorporated in the amount of $260,115.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good evening, Mrs. Freeze. We don't see you that often, but I did see you at Lego.
You did.
So when you do come, you bring good news.
I hope.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, Mr. Cagle. The library has had security guard services, and I should warn you, I've not operated this system yet. We're going to hope I do it right. Since 2019, as problems grew downtown, it became an issue, a lot of minor vandalism, aggressive behavior, and misconduct, and it was very wearing on the staff to constantly police that and try to do our jobs. Speaking with the police department, they endorsed the use of a security guard service, and the contract that we had ended in November. And so this is to set up a new contract. This time we had 10 companies that submitted their bids, and the proposals were ranked by a team of 5 library employees based on experience and qualifications, and their references and the cost of services, with experience and qualifications being the number one. I put this, against my better nature of putting things in alphabetical order, I put it in the order they scored. And as you can see, Security Reconnaissance Team and Arbor Incorporated came out well on top of the others. The agreement will allow for 2 one-year renewals, dependent on the budget, and the city will have the right to terminate the agreement upon 30 days' notice. These are commissioned uniformed officers, so they do carry a weapon, and they patrol any hour when the staff or the public are present at the main library, so basically 8 a.m. to either 6:15 or 7:15, depending on the day that we're open. We do not have them there, of course, on holidays. This conforms to the city purchasing policy. It is a recurring expense. So for the current year, March to September will be about $57,645. Please note that we did have expenses from October 1 through November 22nd. So that was about another, I believe, $15,000 or $18,000. I would like to address the fact that this is a substantial increase because the hourly rate, the previous contract was bid in 2019, and the rate was only, at that time, I believe, 16 an hour. They did go up to 21 over time, and nobody came in anywhere near that low. The current rate would be $31.50. Future year expenditures will be an estimate of $99,855 for next year, fiscal year '25, and $102,615 for '26. That is assuming, I believe, a 2.5% increase per year. We are I believe I'm missing a slide. The council does have the option to direct us not to issue a contract or to choose another company or to accept the contract with Security Reconnaissance Team, and we're recommending that you authorize a contract with Security Reconnaissance Team.
Thank you. Could you go back to the slide prior to that? Okay, right there. All right, Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make sure I'm absolutely clear here. This
I
expenditure
heard what
is,
they were saying, that's why I know to go back.
is this expenditure over 2 or 3 years?
It's a total of 3 years.
For a total of 3 years?
Yes, sir.
Got it, okay. That-
Starting March of this year through February of '26.
Sure. And I've visited the main library, and you guys have great staff there. It's quiet, it's
Thank
clean,
you.
what you would expect for a library. But my primary question is, what strategy is being implemented over time to hopefully eliminate this expenditure in the future?
Unfortunately, we deal with a lot of people who their goal is just to hang out there all day and use us as a free service. We have become a de facto homeless shelter. And unfortunately, this has led to a number of problems for us. I'm not sure I see a way out of this, except as downtown develops into a more vibrant location, attracting more and more people, I think the problem will eventually address itself.
Okay. Have you seen a large decrease in incidents since we have the staff on board?
When we have a guard there, the number of incidences go way down. For the past 3 months, without having one, they are rising again.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, man. I think you may have already answered my question. How many guards?
It's one guard at a time, but the company will have a roster of guards. The company is very experienced in this. They had probably, if not the most, the second most number of years of experience. And they have planned a roster of guards that they will rotate in and out, but of course, they do find other work.
I mean, I'm not
and leave,
that specific how many they got. I just want, how many was on at any shift? It's just
one on each shift. They usually run 2 shifts a day.
Okay, and do they coordinate with our downtown team?
Well, we have a very good relationship with the downtown team, and yes, they will coordinate with them as well. Officer Correa often helps at the main library with our issues, and he developed a great rapport with the previous guards that we had.
Thank you.
Members would ask was, are they armed?
They are armed, and that is at the request of the police department a few years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Councilmember Sakari
Just
sneaked up on me.
Real quick, thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, because I know in the past, and we're talking about security inside the library
And outside.
and outside, because I know in the past, we used to have a lot of issues with them hanging outside.
Yes, sir.
So that has been cleaned up with the security and all that?
It had been, it's growing again while we don't have security right now.
Got it. Because I know even, if I can remember right, I think the council at one time had maybe a discussion about fencing it, the whole place. And
No. We are
And we don't want to be unwelcoming.
No.
And I would like to say, although we do have many homeless who are there, the number who cause problems, it's small. Our biggest problem is dozing off in the library, but
So when the library, when it's closed, do they hang out there outside and all that still, or?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to, but unless a patrol goes by and sees them.
Got it. All right, thank you.
So as the council know that during the hot season and the cold season, that all of our offices, the city's facilities is open for anyone to go in, regardless if it's the unsheltered or just someone just walking downtown, just want to cool off. but there's more benefits, not only for the unsheltered that's there, because I don't want it to come across like they're the problem for why we have security guards, because we have residents that attend, teens sometimes, people play, or, just don't want to follow the rules, so it's more benefits than just the unsheltered.
Right, and
in the
many of the
library.
unsheltered people are really wonderful people, and some have really tried to help ease the problems we're having.
Right, yes, ma'am, because they are a part of our city. And thank you for that, for pointing that out. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm curious. I've been to the library many times, and I have, and
Yes,
seen
ma'am.
different things. And if kids are there during the summer for their summer programs and doing their little arts, are the officers or the security persons, are they in plain clothes or are they in security guard clothes?
They are in uniform.
They are in uniform. And they're carrying their guns as if they're in uniform. Have you ever had a child ask, why are they here?
No, we've never had that problem, and many parents came back and started bringing their children after we had a security services.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Does it cost? Because we know it's needed.
Right.
But how do you feel being in the library with all of that going on? Is it making you safe? Are you? I
Most
watch
staff
the
feel
doors.
safer.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else? All right, thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Reese. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Secretary.
RS 24034, consider a memorandum resolution of support for the low-income housing tax credit application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for Avanti Legacy Westwood.
Thank you. So Mr. Cagle is not in place. Oh, there you go, Mr. Cagle. Good evening, Mr. Cagle.
Good evening. Just a little slow. I think most of the council are familiar with this process. We have it about once a year with the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. It was created under the Internal Revenue Code, and it's a financing program to develop affordable rental housing. And it enables private capital to be directed towards the development of affordable rental housing for low to moderate income. So the incentive is an annual tax credit in exchange for equity in the development of affordable housing. And each state receives a per capita allocation, and then the states then allocate those. And it's a very competitive process across the state. And I just want to say this is different than Station 42. It's a completely different program. And while Station 42 is more workforce housing, this is more affordable housing. So the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs manages the program on behalf of the state of Texas. And each development has a minimum 15-year tax credit compliance period, and units must remain affordable to persons with incomes at or below 60% of the area median income for 30 years. That benefit has to last for 30 years. We have a number of tax credit developments throughout the city, and you've got that list there. And, excuse me. Here it is. It's going to be 102 units, projected cost of $22.2 million. On Illinois Avenue, you see it's just up from Home Depot, or if you're familiar with the Heart of Texas Defense Alliance offices right across the street there. A preliminary site plan, doesn't mean this is exactly what they will submit, but it is a preliminary site plan. That's Illinois right there. And it's going to be, once again, a high-quality housing project. You can see a number of the features and amenities in the community. And so this is very important. They requested a resolution of support from the city council, and then the $500 investment from the city, that's showing the state of Texas that we're invested in the project, that you approve of it. And these are, as I said, these are very competitive process, and if they don't get this resolution of support and the $500, they probably don't get the project. So this is a make or break. And this is a development that will pay full property taxes. And so you have a number of alternatives. You can provide a resolution of support with a fee waiver, or the support without a fee waiver, or just a resolution of no objection with a fee waiver, or that same resolution without a fee waiver, or really don't do anything. And our recommendation is to provide a resolution of support with fee waiver not to exceed $500 for the proposed Avante Legacy Westwood Affordable Housing Development Project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I believe, as you heard earlier, where they have a representative here.
Yes, sir. And that's just like the one by Destiny Church.
Yes, ma'am, this will be a senior
Okay.
housing project.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Adams and then Councilmember Segar.
I think you may have already answered my question. So it's the same, is it a replacement for the one, or is it?
No, no, sir.
We're still going with the one on Destiny, I mean, near Destiny, and this will be a second one?
Yes, sir, we have a lot more to come on that project. And so that, hopefully we can get everything straightened out on that one where they can start. This one, they're just now applying at the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs to be in the competition.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Councilmember Adams, thank you. Councilmember Segar.
Thank you. Have that property been purchased, or is it contingent upon finalization approval?
I'll let the representative, I think I know the answer, but they ought to answer that.
Mr. Tangman?
Tevez, yes, ma'am.
Tevez.
Michael Smez, Madhouse Development. Thank you, sir, for the introduction there. Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Have you guys put that property under, I'm sure is it under contract? Or
It's under contract to purchase. We have not purchased it
so
yet.
it's under contingent still right now?
Yes, there are certain reasons why it's advantageous to wait as long as you can, because there's certain home funds and environmental clearance items that could restrict us from actually taking down the land until that's been reviewed and approved. So we are under contract to purchase that.
No, I know that piece of property real good. And it's right across the street pretty much to the other low-income housing, which is, I think it's called the Village of Fox Creek right there.
It is.
And that one, has been very successful. That's always, looks more like a luxury apartment, but
And that's our plan here. We're really excited about this opportunity to serve the city of Killeen and provide a high-quality property right there. As I was walking the property and getting to see how residents can just get out of their house and walk down the road and get to enjoy a lot of the amenities that are right there off the highway.
yeah, it's right there by the mall.
Yep.
And the
How many-
Theater.
How many apartments are going to be there?
There'll be 102.
Wow. And that's the thing, looking at the piece of property, it doesn't look like it's that big, but
Yes, and we are working with the site plan. We've ordered a new survey. There's some overhead electrical lines. There's some reasons probably why the site had been overlooked for many years, but that's kind of where we come in and work through those challenges, and we figure out how to make that site viable for the city. And one of them being like a big sewer line running through the middle. We'll pay to have all of that relocated and reworked throughout with the city engineers involved.
yeah, and I think there's a big electrical line.
Yes, and I don't think we're moving that one. We're just trying to work around it and also with the residents along, not Phoenix, but the other street, just kind of how close it is. We're trying to keep that building 2 stories, just to try and keep that perspective of, who our neighbors are. So it'll be 3 stories along Phoenix and Illinois, and then hopefully 2 stories along that other side.
Does this property, does it have to be rezoned for anything?
Yes, it does. It's currently zoned B5 business, and we would be requesting a zoning. As part of the application, we actually submit that to the city, and along with a hold harmless letter indicating that if we were to be denied our zoning, we would not ensue or pursue any type of lawsuits there.
Because there's a lot of houses in there, and so when that circle goes around, I can tell you, you got the gated community in there and all that, where I used to live, and they're an HOA, so.
Yes, we are definitely kind of keeping that in mind as we go to develop the site. We've met, I think the owners have met with a lot of the council members, Mr. Solomon as well, tried to get as much community support here as possible and take take our experience. We've been in business for 25 years. I've been with the company going on 6.5, 7 years, and using all those experiences with the neighborhoods that we're around to gather the feedback and to try and mitigate that. And so that's why I think trying to keep everything as low, 2-story as much as possible is our goal there.
All right, well, good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you both. All right, council, we got 13 items to go, and we have 2 guest speakers. Madam Secretary.
RS 24035, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing a professional services agreement with Engineered Exteriors LLC for the design and construction support of the community center roof replacement in the amount of $69,600.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good evening, Mr. Revelle.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, Assistant City Manager. This request, it's really seeking the approval from the City Council on next week to allow for design that needs to be associated with the existing roof associated with the community center. As was noted in the staff report, it was discovered during the course of the interior demolition that the need to replace the existing roof happened sooner. So there was always a plan that it would need to be done, but it was discovered that it needed to happen sooner. And so this request will allow us to be able to do that design work so that we can move forward with the replacement that will be necessary associated with the existing roof. As noted in the last bullet, we've engaged Engineered Exteriors. They specialize in these services, and their service will be for $69,600 and will entail everything that's noted on the slide, from design and bidding to construction support services associated with the existing roof replacement. And then they also will be working with the existing contractor. Remember, a couple of months back, you all approved, I think it was a 7.3, a huge contract associated with the contractor for the community center expansion project itself. And this will allow this work effort to be a part of that work. And this is really important because as the contractor's doing their work, we want to make sure that we have everything warranted. And so having that existing roof in good condition will ensure that the work, that whatever number that was, that $7+ million project, that work is protected and warranted by the contractor. Staff is recommending that this professional service agreement be approved by the council on next week for $69,600. And then I also have with me Mr. Zakers as well as Executive Director Snook, if there are additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. There are no questions. Madam Secretary.
RS 24036, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the purchase of fire department uniforms from Impact Promotional Services LLC, doing business as Got You Covered Workwear and Uniforms, in an amount not to exceed $114,829 for FY 2024.
Welcome back, Chief Kabinski. Welcome back, sir.
Good evening again, Mayor, Manager, and City Council. Happy to be back. Clean Fire Department provides uniforms for all of our personnel. We have 3 different types of uniforms. Our Class C, which is our station wear, t-shirts, pants, boots, required accessories worn daily. Our Class B, which is the button-down blue shirt that you typically see the men and women wear when I ask them to come out and support us for any items, or they come on their own. And then the Class A are dress uniforms reserved for more formal events such as banquets, ceremonies, or the unfortunate events of funerals. Our staff conducted wear tests and comparisons of the selected gear. There were numerous vendors who were contacted to receive pricing. Companies such as Logos and Thread, Webb's Uniforms, GT Distributors, Cavella Designs, Nafco, Daco, and Galls. It's important to note that we experienced many issues with Galls, who was the vendor in FY 22 and 23. Took us more than 11 months just for them to deliver uniform t-shirts, screen printed t-shirts. Had a lot of issues, and the orders were wrong a number of times that we had to send back. They weren't even being truthful with us when providing order updates. They even tried to charge for items that were never purchased. So while they did come back at a cheaper price this time around, those are not reasons we'd want to take a cheaper price. Sometimes cheaper is definitely not the best. This is an expenditure that is not to exceed $114,829. It is a budgeted expense for fiscal year 24, and there is no additional funding required. It does conform to city policy, and our selected vendor, Impact Promotional Services LLC, doing business as Got You Covered Workwear and Uniforms. We recommend that the city manager as designee be authorized to execute the purchase of our uniforms in an amount not to exceed $114,829 with Gotcha Covered Workwear through by board contract number 670-22, and that the city manager or designee is authorized to execute any and all or change orders within the amount set by state and local law.
Thank you, Chief. There are no questions. Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
RS 24037, consider a memorandum resolution to award RFQ 2420, Police Department Mental Health Clinician to A&L Solutions in an amount of $275,000.
Good evening, Chief Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, City Manager, and Assistant City Manager. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address the issue of mental health. Before I begin the presentation, I want to talk a few minutes about mental health and the issue of mental health in the law enforcement profession. In 2023, a total of 91 suicides occurred in law enforcement agencies and families across the United States. Police officers, as we all know, are at a higher risk of suicide than any other profession. The number of officers who died due to suicide is more than triple that of officers who were fatally injured during the course of duty. 13 out of every 100,000 people die by suicide in the general population. That number jumps to 17 out of 100,000 for police officers. In addition to the threat of physical harm, officers are constantly witnessing devastating and disturbing incidents such as murder, suicide, and domestic violence incidents. On average, police officers throughout their career witness 188 critical incidents. That exposure can lead to mental health issues later on in their life and in their career. The rate of PTSD and depression among police officers is 5 times higher than that of the civilian population. The mental health of police officers is a critical issue that deserves attention. Law enforcement is a demanding profession that exposes officers to high levels of stress, trauma, and potentially dangerous situations on a daily basis. The City of Killeen and the department are taking the right steps to ensure officers are mentally fit in order to protect our citizens and themselves. Thank you for really considering this request. Now I'm going to start the presentation. The background: City Council approved the use of American Rescue Plan funds for police mental health and wellness initiatives. The Killeen Police Department has issued a request for qualifications for a clinical mental health team to provide professional mental health counseling to augment the department's in-house peer support team. The professional team will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will provide immediate treatment by a trained behavioral health professional to all Killeen Department personnel who may experience a critical incident or may be struggling from the cumulative mental stresses of the profession. It would also provide for additional training and regular consultation sessions. Three vendors responded to the RFQ. A team representing command staff, peer support, and the Killeen Police Employees Association evaluated 3 proposals, and we selected the proposal by A&L Solutions, which met all the requirements set forth in the RFQ. A&L Solutions presented a 5-year contract for $55,000 per year. The city may opt out of annual renewals with proper notice. Now, the financial impact is that the total contract cost is $275,000, and it covers fiscal years 2024 to 2029. For fiscal year 2024 to May of 2026, the cost is going to be covered by ARPA funds at $126,523. City funds will be covering the remainder of the contract from May 2026 to February 2029. As you can see, for each fiscal year, the items are covered. $55,000, and for 2027 and $55,000 for the 2028 is going to be covered out of our budgeted, so there's no increase to the budget. And for the last year, 2029, it's going to be a cost of $22,915 because it's a short year. And we recommend that the City Council authorize the purchase of the A&L Solutions contract to provide mental health services to the Killeen Police Department, and the city manager or designee be authorized to execute the professional services agreement in the amount of $275,000 and any change orders that's permitted by law. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief Lopez. I agree with you and the council do too when it comes to mental health, especially in certain professionals are more higher prevalent in that occupation. So my question is, 5 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the contract, is that because you want to keep the stability of that service, or that's just the way the contract had
No,
to?
we'd like to keep the stability of that
Okay.
service.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, no, thank you, Chief. Okay, sorry, alibi.
Just a real quick question. I know that with the fire department has their mental health services, will the two work together in case one can't cover?
Pretty sure Chief Kaminsky and I will work that out. Where's he at?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you don't have to come up. Just a quick question. Thanks.
Thank you. That's a good question. But y'all have a great working relationship anyway, so yeah.
Yes.
Team Khalid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Councilmember Adams, for that question. Madam Secretary.
RS 24038, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the award of bid number 2421 Chaparral Pump Station Rebid Project to SSP Industries LP with a contract in the amount of $7,916,365.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Kanya.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The 2019 Water and Wastewater Master Plan includes Project 4W, which was for the construction of a 8 million gallon per day pump station at the base of the newly constructed Chaparral Elevated Storage Tank. This pump station will allow the city to better utilize water from the Stillhouse Water Treatment Plant by pumping the water into the upper pressure plane, which serves mostly the western half of the city. On August the 3rd of this past year, purchasing received one bid submission in the amount of just a little bit over $8.4 million for this project. Because there only being one bid and because it being substantially over the estimated cost, we came to council and you then approved the rejection of that bid and basically asked us to go back to the drawing board and to take another look at it. And so Friesen Nichols, the design team on the project, did that over the next couple of months. And then on January of this year, we went back and rebid the project. 3 bidders came in at that time. It was SSP Industries, Proda, and Barsh Construction. SSP Industries, which is actually their office is about a mile down the road from the site, so they are a Killeen company, is the selected vendor for this bid, for the Chaparral Pump Station rebid, as they are the responsive low bidder providing the best value to the city. And so the recommendation tonight is to authorize the award of bid number 2421, the Chaparral Pump Station rebid project, to SSP Industries. Authorize the city manager or designee to execute a construction contract in the amount of $7,916,365 with SSP Industries. And furthermore, authorize the city manager or designee to execute any and all change orders within the amounts set by state and local law. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening.
Thank you, sir. There are no questions for you. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24039, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing JC Communications to install a fiber network path to the Rosa Herford Community Center in the amount of $129,106.84.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Resto.
Good evening, Mayor,
sir.
Council, City Manager. The item before you tonight is the installation of fiber connection to the Rosa Herford Community Center. I want to address the question that was asked. This is a private network, although there are no companies that are running fiber. Most of them are for residential and some commercial. However, those are shared networks. Ours is a closed network. I gave you all a copy of a clean fiber fax that we actually own 26.5 miles of fiber, the city of Killeen. Many of the facilities that we have are connected with that fiber. Several are connected, or 26 are connected with the fiber. 6 are Metro Ethernet circuits. 12 wireless point-to-points, which is Rosa Herford is actually have one of those point-to-points. and 3 internet VPNs, will be including the new VA cemetery, is how they get connected back to us. A lot of this depends on speed. So the new Rosa Herford Center is going to have 30-plus computers in there, 6 different screens, 21 hotspots or wireless. The technology that we're putting in is almost quadruple of what was in there in the old center. We have 2 learning centers in there that will have the several computer labs, 12 each in each computer lab, access control, cameras, which is why we're pushing for the fiber high-speed internet there. It would definitely be worth it. In page 2, you kind of see our diagram of the set out. And one of the things I do want to point out is our fire station to our Fire Station 4 expansion. This is our plan for where we want to expand our fiber as we add more facilities in the city. And in page 3 is actually shows you the route that we're running. So it's about 1.6 miles of fiber that has to run to this location. And it at a cost, typically fiber costs quite a bit per mile, which is, it expends, we're going overhead, majority of it. We do have to bore underneath W.S. Young to get underneath and then come back out on the other side of the property. But I wanted to provide you some visuals with those. Some of this obviously is confidential, which is, we don't want to show where our network fiber is. Again, 50 meg wireless point is what we have on it. Again, the fiber optic gives us the best connectivity. And then by putting this cable in there, we bring the advantages that the community center is going to be demanding. Here's some of the advanced reasons and the benefits: enhanced connectivity, improved services, and long-time cost effectiveness. And then we decided to pick JC Communication to install the fiber due to their previous implementation work they've done in the city. Recently, they just did the rodeo grounds for a project that we're going to be doing in the future for the television thing. So they do great work. They're a preferred fiber installer for the installation of fiber. It's going to cost not to exceed $129,106.84 and using the Texas DIR contract. Our recommendation is that the city manager designee go ahead and approve the Rosa Herford Community Center in an amount not to exceed $129,106.84 using the Texas DIR information resources. And I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Councilmember, thank you, sir. Councilmember Cigar.
When they put fiber, are other people able to tap into that, or is it just specific? Because I see these billboards around here saying, we got fiber in your area.
That's for the residential. This is actually private fiber, so this is city-owned.
City.
So this
So
1.6.
there's no other people that can tap into it?
Not on this one. We have a 12 strand that's going to be running through here,
Got it.
exclusively owned for the city of Killeen.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24040. Consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the purchase of Cisco SmartNet support and maintenance using the Texas DIR TSO 4167 contract in an amount not to exceed $274,495.90.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Resta.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you is the Cisco SmartNet support and maintenance. And what that means is SmartNet is the software maintenance, advanced replacement, and technical support. The city's been using Cisco equipment for all its networking and telephone for many years. Cisco is an industry leader in network equipment. SmartNet, again, allows us to have hardware support and replacement, software upgrades, upgrade tools, security alerts, proactive diagnostic, real-time alerts, and patch management. Currently in the city, we have 52 facilities, 807 phones, and 113 switches stretched out across. These are all Cisco equipment that we're looking to be with the support. Insight is a certified Cisco partner. Pricing is through the Texas DIR contract. The cost of Cisco SmartNet support, this is over a 3-year period, is $274,495.90. And this is a budgeted item that I have in my line item budget that we budget every year. The staff recommends that the city manager or his designee be authorized to execute the purchase of the Cisco SmartNet from Insight Public Sector in amount not to exceed $274,495.90. And I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Resto. This every year you bring this book to us?
SmartNet is every 3 years, so
3
I brought
years,
it
okay.
when I came here in
I remember
2019.
seeing it, okay.
Yes,
All
it's
right.
been a minute.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we're not finished. I'm sorry, sir.
I've got a
Coun-
question for you, sir.
Yes.
Sorry about the minute, Mayor. This to me, I understand we do this every 3 years. It seems like we're purchasing new hardware and software, like a whole new package.
No.
No.
It is just about having the maintenance for the 113 switches that we own. So when you buy a switch, you only get a 90-day warranty on it, and this allows us, so anything happens to it. And it is a direct replacement, so it's an RMA. The switches, you can run up to 11,000 apiece. So it helps us if something goes wrong with it, a port's bad, or we need to keep patches to it to keep security. We get all that for free, and we can call them with technical assistance if we're having an issue, and they will walk us through on the telephone system, the telephones,
Sure.
as well as our switches.
Okay, those things happen occasionally, or is it just like random incidents?
They happen occasionally.
Okay.
Every now and then, a script doesn't work, or a switch, when we have a power outage, a switch doesn't come back on. We have to go through the technical support. The technical support will walk us through troubleshooting procedures, and then they will say, oh, no, here's a RMA, and we send the switch back, and it covers that $6,000 or $11,000 for that
Gotcha.
switch.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Thank you, Mr. Resto.
All right, thank you.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24041, consider a memorandum resolution approving the appointment of an executive director of Public Works.
Good evening, Mrs. Bark. It's good to see you.
Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. The item before you is for an appointment of an Executive Director of Public Works. And I can't do it. I'm doing this right. Oh, I can do it here now? There we go. All right. I don't like to drive, you don't know that, right? All right, the Executive Director for Public Works submitted his retirement this past December and was effective in January of 2024. Human Resources immediately started the recruitment process, and during the interim, conversations were had between Mr. Reynolds and the city management regarding the possible return of Mr. Reynolds as our Executive Director of Public Works. As you know, Mr. Reynolds was a respected executive director. He retired from the city in good standing, has institutional knowledge already of the Public Works Department, and he's also implemented several initiatives in that department in his previous tenure. We are excited always and fortunate to hire good people back. The city manager's recommendation is to rehire Jeff Reynolds as an Executive Director of Public Works. As a reminder, Mr. Reynolds has 10 years of experience with the city of Killeen. He holds a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing. Mr. Reynolds has over 30 years of experience in sales, communication systems, electronics, and in management. In addition, he served in the military for 21 years and previously worked as a field engineer senior for the Persistent Threat Detective System with Lockheed Martin, and as an environmental services supervisor for the United States Environmental Services. So staff recommends that the City Council approve City Manager's reappointment of Jeff Reynolds as the Executive Director of Public Works. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mrs. Bark.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Yeah, I just want to make sure he was qualified.
Yeah.
And perhaps we're going to double that franchise tag once he signs back on with it.
It's going to be exactly the same when he left, sir.
No, that's so he can't leave. So anybody tries to hire him, they got to pay us $1.5 million.
Oh, is that what you're going to pay him?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm
No,
on
not
board.
pay him.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, I just want to say there could be no better hire for that position, obviously, because we know Mr. Reynolds so well, and he done such a great job. And I just want to say welcome back. But with that said, without personalizing it, because if it's unpersonal, by all means. But I would just like to maybe if he can let us know why he came back.
Okay, I'll let him talk to you about that.
Councilmember Boyd,
He's going to answer.
you gonna ask the same question? No? So, I'm just asking. Come on, Mr. Reynolds.
Good evening. I came back because Councilmember Segarra called me and asked me to come back, so that's why I'm here.
If it would have been that easy, I would have done that.
No, when I left, my conversation with the city manager at the time was that I had a lot of personal stuff going on. I had a brother pass away since then. A couple of folks in my family passed away since then that I was dealing with. So I had a lot of personal issues. I didn't want to hold a position hostage while I take time off to do that. And since we didn't hire anybody in that interim, I just it felt right to come back. I was going to go back to work at some point anyway, somewhere else. And since Councilman Adams had put a franchise tag on me, I had to come back to the city of Killeen. So, in conversation with the city manager and the mayor, it felt right, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, I'm just saying we're glad to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City of Killeen Public Works Department is best led with professionalism and excellence, and that's what we have with the individual here. So looking forward to having you back.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, it's good to see you back. Got some work for you.
I expect nothing less, ma'am.
I do. I have some. I don't want to say. I'm just, all right.
All right, are there any more comments? All right, thank you, Mrs. Bark. Okay, council, we have two guest speakers on this 7:35, and I was hoping that we can move Mr. Connell, the Killeen Economic Development Corporation update, and also Mr. Garrett, Rick Garrett, to discuss the financial impact of the proposed WCID #1 water system improvements. This DS-24-015, DS-24-016, and we can move them before public hearing. All right, with that being said, Madam Secretary, we are going to DS-24-015.
Killeen Economic Development Corporation update.
Mayor, Council, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm Scott Connell. I'm president of the Killeen Economic Development Corporation, and we, on a quarterly basis, come up and give you a little update on what's been going on the last several months, what we've been working on, and some of the achievements over the last few days. So let's see. Everybody else is having challenges on this. There you go. I like to always start with a little bit of project updates. Always a thank you to your support for these key projects that are moving along in construction, and so you're aware of where we stand on some of these as they're going along. Dongjin Semichem Texas, as you know, is a company that announced it's about 14, 16 months now. We completed the sale of a 42-acre site in the industrial park in I guess December of 22. They've been diligently under construction since that time. If you're familiar, the Dongjin Semichem makes a number of products that go into the semiconductor industry production. Their key customer is Samsung. This is their first U.S. location, and we're excited about this. A pretty new shot just in the last week or so. They're moving forward really quickly on completing their facility. Want to thank city staff for all of the work they've been doing in construction and building inspections and all, especially as they went through the Christmas holidays and all. Lots of working with them on as they finish up the facility, get ready to test equipment. So sometime we think in the end of this quarter, beginning of second quarter, they'll be finished and ramping up. They have already hired all the 17 employees that they anticipated to hire in the facility, and looking forward to getting it all fully operating in the park. And it's fully fenced. It's a really nice contained location. So. MGC Per Chemicals, thank you again for last month. Y'all approved an incentives package for MGC. They are immediately under construction for their $130 million investment. And these are hard shots to see, but this is just so you can see the entrance of MGC, and on the right, you can see all of this equipment that has been located on their site. As part of the package, they acquired 7 acres next to them, all the way to the corner at Twin Creek, and so they are utilizing that site for staging and for some of their equipment and for the expansion. So if you drive by there, it was a grass site there for a long time. Very immediately went full construction. So we do anticipate that's about a 16-month process of construction. And to that, I'll talk a little bit about some connectedness on that in a minute. The Southern Ridge Brewery, the KEDC entered into an incentive agreement to assist in some of the building renovations in the last month, up to $200,000 after they're open and operating, and they hire their full-time equivalents of 14 jobs. They have 4 years to continuous that operating, and we expect that to be construction to be done sometime next year. We have to mid-year next year. So this is new, and it's separate and distinct from what the city did in your sale agreement. And so ours is to be just very specifically focused on some of the renovations. So we're excited about being a part of that and assisting in this a really big, important project for downtown. Just an update also on USAMM. About a year and a half ago, September of 22, we closed on the sale of about between 5 and 6 acres of land in the industrial park to USAMM. They are a producer of uniform accessories, ribbons, uniforms themselves, racks, awards. They are currently in the industrial park, just down the street from the site that they acquired on Swanner Loop, in a rental facility. They are moving forward with their production or their construction. We see that sometime in the next month, a couple months. We want you just to be aware that a project that happened a while back, sometimes we knew they had about 2 years to begin construction. They're on that exact time schedule that they thought they would be on. They're not delayed. We see this as a spring project to get under construction, and excited to see further development in the park. That's at the corner of Ricky Carlisle and Twin Creeks, so at a busy location. And you can see it's going to have a couple of different buildings and access points for both employees and visitors alike. We wanted to let you know one of the big things in the last couple of months is the EDC has entered into a contract to acquire 95.6 acres of property. And I would just say this is wrong. I wrote this wrong. I got my towards wrong. It's the southeast corner of that, not the southwest corner. It's the southeast corner of Highway 195 and Stagecoach, and I didn't spell the word there. It is our goal is a new business park. As we've talked about before, just like in anything, businesses are looking for new homes. They need a place for that home, and we're getting tight on the size of our lots in the Killeen Business Park. So the opportunity to have new places for business to go, and in some cases, different style of development. We see this as an opportunity to have a technology center that's close to the university. It's a light industrial park that meets the university overlay district requirements. So we're excited about the opportunity that this will have for us, and how it will complement some of the things going on at Texas A&M University Central Texas. We expect to close on sometime in the first half of 2024 as we work through some of the details of the sale. We've already, as part of your agreement, as part of your additional budget items for us this year, we asked for some funding to be able to do some environmental work, engineering work, and we're doing that on this. So we've already had Terracon do all our site-related phase ones. We're using those funds for that, as well as our engineers, our civil engineers, to begin to do some lot layouts so we can start to understand how we will utilize this and go to market with the kind of sites that we want to make it. We're always big on flexibility, so small lots, large lots, the ability to kind of build the utility infrastructure in there as needed. So we're well on this. We're not waiting to get to closing. We want to get on with this and really know what we can do. So we're excited about this. It's a big endeavor for us. We really appreciate Mr. Curtis Wolf and his family and their willingness to engage with us on this sale. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's not the easiest piece of property to work with, but it is a beautiful piece. Has some, but I think an opportunity to give us flexibility on a number of different ways we can sell sites. So we see this as a mixed use. So there may be some commercial in here. There'll be office, technology, data centers, and some production. So we also wanted to, as tied to the MGC project, SMB Engineering is the construction firm who's working on the MGC project. They came to us and said, we have 7 acres there, but it's kind of a tight squeeze to do all of the buildings we want to do there. Just putting on a whole lot of temporary buildings is, 1, expensive, and 2, it's tight. We see you have this building here. Would you be interested in leasing us some space? So we worked out an agreement with SMB to take on a portion of the Blackboard building. It's if you're not familiar, KEDC owns this building. It's a call center space. As we all know, call centers are not really a popular thing to do in America right now. Since COVID, it has changed the nature in which that industry has operated. So we're excited about to be able to activate a little bit of this building in a way that not only is good for us to get the systems continually upgraded and ready to go for a potential long-term user, but also to serve the needs of a company across the street. So we're real pleased to have been able to do that. They've been a great team, and we are. Although we keep that building up to date all the time, we keep the lights on, we have all the utilities operating. When you're not using a piece of equipment or anything on a regular basis, it's got its challenges. So we're doing some upgrades now, or water leaks or water updates, some faucets here. We're updating the fiber optics in there. We're doing getting the lights on. We realized there was a problem with lights in the parking lot, so that'll be better off for the whole park. There's a lot of things this has got us moving on maintaining our own stuff that we really probably didn't know had to be updated. So we're real excited about being able to have that ready again for the next whoever uses this building. And then just a little bit, we are continue to work on the innovation side of things. We see that as a real big focus for us as we go, and our real opportunity down the road, even especially as we go forward with the Wolf property. That we hosted the Forge Research and Innovation Summit last month. It's important to continue to bring an update as to what's going on in the market. Here's some things. We had some great speakers, and Rob Stone over at the OTC, Colonel Erico with the Omri Software Factory, and Larry Smith with Tokyo Electron. They are a major producer of equipment in the semiconductor industry, so they're kind of in the thing, and they're actually very interested in trying to help expand the capacity of workforce and take advantage of the military workforce exiting Fort Cavazos. So it's a great relationship, and we're excited about where that might take us down the road. And so having him here was important. We also completed the innovation ecosystem study that Waymaker Group contracted with them last spring to do. Doesn't really, I was funny, when you know your market, having somebody do an outside study on what your targets ought to be should not really surprise you, but it does validate what we're going after, and that obviously defense technologies, information technologies, and cybersecurity. It does take into account some of the newer things like battery technology that is really on the forefront right now, especially with these EV, the vehicles that are, and the Teslas of the world and all that. Battery technology is changing in so many different ways for so many things. So we're seeing in our world a lot of production demand going on around the country. So we think this is a real opportunity for us going forward. So it's nice to have that report that helps us as we go out and attract industry. And then last, I just wanted to give an update. We're out there marketing. We're out there in January in California and at Plastec. It's one of those, we don't do a lot of trade shows, but that one is one you want to go to because you can see it's really 5 shows in one building, and it's all kind of, you flow through. There's medical device and manufacturing, packaging, design, plastics, and then a design packaging shipping scenario, an ATX. We partner with Encore Electric Delivery. It's a cost-effective way for us to be out on the show. But also while we were there, we set up some company meetings while we were in California. I think that's a really important way to utilize our time when we're going to travel. And so although it's an extra expense to do it, we contract with a company who sets up these meetings for us. They work calls. They're one of the few call centers that's still out there. They call companies in California in the areas and in the industries that we request, and look for companies, some of which they've done their homework on. Of either they've heard that they're expanding, they've been in a merger, there's something else that is got on their radar that is telling them that this might be an expanding company. They actually identified 5 companies for us to see that are actually in expansion mode, and so we got to meet with those. We partnered there with our friends in Temple. We're telling the regional story, and it saves us some money. We're sharing the cost of that expense and that trip, and so it was really good and a lot to follow back up with on that. And then we're in Austin, starting now that we're starting to clarify some real estate options for us. We need to be in with the real estate folks, talking to them about the projects that we have and the opportunities here. So we were there in January, and it was very interesting because I think also part of this is we need to hear what's going on in the real estate business. What do they expect in the next year? And there are some interesting storylines that are out there that we need to pay attention to. New growth, what's happening in different markets, and in terms of the city markets around the Austin area. So very useful time. So just so you all know, we're still out there doing some things. So I'm happy to answer questions on any of these items. Trying to stay busy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Connell, and the KDC team, Councilwoman Gonzalez, Councilmember Board.
Thank you for your
Don't
service.
you
I
push
appreciate
that
you.
button. And Mr. Cagle, thank you all for being the council voice. And with that being said, Mr. Councilmember Sagara.
This is a question that is not on there. I think I asked you that this last time, but any updates on what is it called, the Anaheim Park? What is it called?
Anthem Park. Nothing new yet. We do know that they're still out there working to do their first major developments. We are talking to them on one project that we are co-working on. But right now, I think they're still in production. So they're interest rates are a factor right now. Development costs are a factor, and there's some. So I think we hope that this year is the beginning of that process going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know, and everybody is expecting some type of answer on this. Any update on the grocery store?
We are working with a couple of different folks. No answer today, but there is progress on this. I think this understanding their needs and the costs associated with that is our biggest issue, and how we go around crafting a project that can work for that. That's going to, and working with city staff on that process, and so stay tuned as we move forward on that. But I think we've narrowed down and understand the kind of what drives that kind of project, and it's really upfront cost is the deal. So how do we get there from here and I think it's really asking the development community to help us on that.
And correct, you work with our aviation folks too, correct?
A little bit, yeah.
Because I know council got an email asking about flights and we were always talking about trying to fill those bays up with new airlines. Have you have any that you could tell us or tell the public? Any potential, not names, but any potential possibilities?
I can't speak to that. I got to give that all to Mike.
Okay.
Mike drives that issue. I'm not, if I can help them with some information about the community and what's going on, that's great, but boy, that's all in Mike's house.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. And the grocery stores, anything that, before we move forward, it will come before the council, working with the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Cagle, and Councilwoman Gonzalez. We've been meeting a lot with the two potential investors to come here. So it will have to come before you for approval for some things that they may be requesting. So it won't get past you, I can say that. It won't get past you. With that, Councilwoman Gonzalez? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell you thank you for, it's very important that when we are looking at developing our city and projecting growth, that we have the ability to have foresight and really explore. I always say leave no stone unturned, right? And you have been very instrumental in helping us do that. And when we throw something at you, taking it to the next level and trying to figure out how we can make it happen, even though, it's a struggle sometimes. But I do want to just say I do appreciate and I see the work that you're doing, and I'm very thankful, especially being in the room watching these conversations taking place with our city manager and with you, sir. So I just want to say thank you for that, and let's just keep it going. There's a lot of good things in the pipeline, y'all.
There are a lot of good things in the pipeline.
And thank you and your staff, and I want to make sure before I move forward, Councilmember Boyd, I know she was going to push your button. I want to make sure I don't overlook you. Are you good? Okay, sir. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
DS 24016, discuss financial impact of proposed WCID number 1 water system improvements.
Good evening, Mr. Garrett.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me back here to talk about water improvements. There is something good in the pipe. So tonight I just have a few slides and just wanted to do more of an overview and then be available for questions if I could. So the two groups of components here, we have a few transmission system upgrades that are part of the package, and then the biggest part, of course, is the Belton Water Plant upgrades. On the transmission improvements, this is a schematic of the transmission system coming from the Belton plant. So the 5,000 feet, 48 inches right in here. This is the surge tanks, and Station 3 is right here. So that's the projects coming up. This is the 5,000 feet area. I don't clear. Sorry about that. There we go. So this is Camp Arrowhead is to the north side of your screen there. This is all on the Fort Cavazos Military Reservation. All of the leaks on the 48 except 2 have occurred in that 5,000 foot stretch. One of those was contractor damage, and the other one was a leak up on the base. And so we feel comfortable that replacing that 5,000 feet will give us much better reliability going forward. This is the surge tank site. The two small circles to the top of your screen are 500,000 gallon steel tanks. Those were built in the early 70s. They've been rehabbed a couple of times. They've had aluminum roof domes put on them, and they're in a situation now where capital upgrades will be very costly, and they're undersized. From our 2009 master plan, it was noted that they're hydraulically well undersized for the kind of flows that we have through that part of the system. on any given day, 60% or better of the Belton plant flows come through the 48-inch line and through these tanks. And then the last project was a recoating, very straightforward, minor project compared to these others. So going on to the Belton plant improvements, I'm going to go ahead and click through all these fixtures here. Won't click too far. So the red outlined plant is the original 1954 Plant 1. That plant is still owned by the federal government, and they're responsible for 100% of the improvements that are needed for that plant. And there are a few stacked up there. The blue rectangle just above it is Plant 2. That plant was built in the 60s. The two circle shapes there are the clarifiers, and those collector rakes that you might have saw when you were touring the plant, those both need to be replaced. We need chlorine scrubbers at each of our chlorine feed stations. That's for safety, not just employee safety, but safety of the surrounding neighborhood. Should we have a chlorine leak, the scrubber neutralizes that chlorine gas and makes it safe for the surrounding area. The biggest expenses are along this green line. They have to do with overhead electric, and also we'll have to have a raw water line for expansion. Y'all aren't adding capacity at this time, so you don't have any of the capacity-related expenses. But again, the raw water station is the biggest source of expenses that we have. 60% or so of the pumping capacity we have is relying on switchgear that's no longer supported. It's at or near the end of its useful life. And lead times on replacing that kind of gear is a year on average. And so we feel it's time to get the project moving forward. So overhead electrical will be put to underground duct banks. We will be replacing 3 pumps. Those are for expansion, and I'll get to that a little bit. And then the raw water line replacement I talked about. This is just some items on Plant 1. Again, Fort Cavazos is accountable for all these improvements. A lot of that plant dates back to the 50s. It's a testament to how they did things then. Plant 3 expansion. I'm going to bring this up because it's important in the long-term scheme of things. So if we were able to gather 10 MGD or more of interest, then it was sufficient for us to demo Plant 3, and it kind of keeps the window open for later expansions. And so we have 12 MGD committed now, and we'll end up at either 12 or 14 MGD. So we're in good spot expansion-wise. A little bit more about some improvements. Most of the tanks you can see in the lower right-hand corner there, they've been in the environment 15, 20 years. These are poly tanks, and so their useful life is up. We have a couple that are undersized and are being replaced. In the schematic in the middle right of the screen is it's a plan view of those sludge collectors. That's Plant 1, but Plant 2s are very similar. Let's see what I'm missing anything. There's a laundry list of things. I'm not going to go through all of them, of course, but just want to give you an overview. These are the expansion scenarios, and again, getting to 14 is kind of the magic number here to be able to expand later with less pain for the water users. This $118,300,000, that is for if we expand it all to 16 MGD and all the maintenance. That's all the packages put together, basically. This is maintenance only, and again, the second line there is the Plant 1 only maintenance, the $3.5 million, and so that's how we derive the non-military folks. We take that from the 28.8, and so the total maintenance obstacle is about $25 million. And this is Clean's share with just from the maintenance aspect. The 32 ADIUS is because Clean has 32 MGD of capacity interest in the Clean transmission system. It's 80 instead of 90 because there's another main leaving the plant that's 10 MGD that's Belton flow only. And then at the bottom, the Belton plants line item, Clean is 3274 because the U.S. government owns 16 MGD of the 90, so it comes off the top. They do everything for Plant 1, and then that's how the ratios are what they are. And I think I have schedule. So we are on schedule to start final design in mid-March, I believe. All the entities are closing in on final decisions if they haven't already. And so with this, we would look to be in construction for about 3 years, and all the improvements made and the water flowing with the new structures in early 2028 probably. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, but there are no questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Cagle.
Mr. Kanye has a quick presentation, and then we'd be asking for a motion of direction.
I apologize, I didn't see him. Oh, yes, you did tell me. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. As Mr. Garrett just talked previously about, the cost for the maintenance projects, which again, those maintenance projects include the 48-inch line, the surge tanks, the coating, all of the maintenance-related projects at the Belton plant. That's $17.5 million. Originally, there was also talk about possibly that the plant would be expanded by 2 million gallons a day. If we would do that, then that would cost the city of Clean $12 million for that 2 million gallons per day. You may remember as well that Mr. Cagle, on February the 6th, he presented the financial impact of proposed water system improvements to you, the City Council. Several things that came out of that presentation was that the maintenance debt that we are looking at, this $17.5 million, it can be funded through the 20-year operating budget. So we can just fund that through the operating budget itself. If we were to move forward on the capacity increase, that would require a base water rate increase of $1.47 per month. One of the other important things is to remember is that our projected maximum day demand reaches 42 million gallons per day, which that's what we're contracted with WCID. That capacity, we reach it at 2045. So a little bit over 20 years from now, we would reach that maximum. If we added the other 2 million gallons, it would just extend that out to 2050. So we get 2 million gallons over 5 years increase through that. And so today we come before you asking for you to issue a motion of direction to bring back, for staff to bring back a proposed addendum to the WCID #1 water contract, which would fund a 20-year debt service for Clean's portion of WCID #1's proposed water system improvements. And where the direction that is needed tonight is basically, do we move forward with option 1, which is just the maintenance, which is the $17.5 million, or do we do the maintenance as well as the capacity increase, which that takes that up to $29.5 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The recommendation slide.
This was it.
Okay, I see it at the top. Never mind. Thank you.
Option 1 or option 2. That's other options. With that being said, Councilmember Adams.
At what population rate is that if we don't, that you based the 2045 number on?
I could get that exact number for you, but basically what we do is we take our population projections and just take that with, a certain amount of water per person a day, and then we also have a peaking factor onto that. That is all based on the master plan that was done in 2019.
Okay, so what are the risks of not doing two? I guess I should ask that instead.
Sure. The risk. I mean, I guess you could get to a point where if maybe we did grow quicker and it maybe happened sooner, and that we would get to that point and we wouldn't have the capacity there. But I think that's a very, very slim risk. And again, you're talking over 20 years of a time frame. So we're going to be able to see as we're growing what's happening. And so those numbers out to 2045, as we move closer to that, they'll get more and more rock solid. And so we've got a lot of time if we did need to then move forward and get some more capacity.
So right now, it's not necessary to increase capacity.
That's not my recommendation. I don't think that's Mr. Cagle's recommendation either.
I know that the Brazos River Authority is actively increasing the number of water, the available water to us. Where that's coming from, I don't know. The smart folks figure that out.
Sure.
But this could come back later to a council to figure out, so we would be okay with doing option one.
Yes, sir. And it's always important to remember this. We're talking treated water here.
Right.
Okay. What a lot of times BRA is working on, that's the raw water.
Yeah.
And again, our projections show that we are good with raw water all the way out to 2080.
Got it. Then, Madam Mayor, motion of direction to proceed with option one.
Thank you, Councilmember Stone. You need a second to the motion of direction. Okay, Councilmember
Second.
Wood. Now back to you, Councilmember Segal.
And just to kind of piggyback on what he's saying, what are the benefits? I think that in 20 years, if we do need to increase that $2 million capacity, would that be more expensive than the $1.42? In your opinion, you think then it's going to cost us more, right?
Sure, construction costs and everything like that will be going up. But again, you've got this large amount of capital that you're having to pay for right now. That money, again, if it was invested, there's that whole component as well to be able to look at. And again, I feel like there's some other things that need to be looked at when it comes to even the governance of all of this water. And Mr. Cagle did, to me, an outstanding job in his presentation of, again, talking about that max day. That's one day out of the year. And so we're trying to design a treatment plan and everything else to be able to hit that one day out of the year, where you have 364 other days that it's well below that. So can we look at trying to decrease that one day out of the year so that we don't hit that maximum rate until even later than what we're looking at? I think it's a great plan.
And so the staff, did you say recommends which one, option one or option two?
Yes, sir, option one.
Option one, okay. And the reason I ask is I know that, one of the biggest challenges when people ask me, as council member, even the staff, it's always keeping up with growth. And how do you plan ahead? And we hate to do that because, what comes to mind is like what happened to our roads. We did that for 10 years and we started with $1 and then before you know, we're up to $10. Mm-hmm. And so we had, that's more difficult. And that was a must because we had Erie that came and destroyed our streets. Had we planned ahead, then we may not have to have that. So that's kind of what comes to mind in something like that. If we charge $1.42, is that going to save us from, in the future, you're charging them $10, $20, whatever that is. So we just want to make sure that we're planning accordingly. But if you guys think that we're good with option one, then I'm okay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Adams, I have to come back to you because you already spoke. So Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When we did the tour of the plant, you all pointed out the electrical upgrades, which include the switch gear, running duct underground, and all that good stuff. Is that included in the option one, all the electrical upgrades?
Yes, sir. All of those maintenance items that, again, it was great for all of us to be able to see that and to see the rust and different, clarifiers and things like that, to see that we really need to get this done. And so we're definitely supporting this maintenance part of it. And so all of that electrical, as far as the maintenance side of it, yes, there is some, I think, capacity-wise of upgrades that, again, the city of Killeen would not have to be able to fund. They would not have to fund.
Sure, and that was my immediate concern, the electrical upgrade. So it's good to hear that that's included in the first, in that option one, and they're all taken care of in option one. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Sagara is forecasting for our future and with the residents in mind in reference to fees. Because right now it's $1.47 and he projected it might be $10. But the one thing that I see when it comes to option one, as we continue to grow, more revenue will be coming in. So the more revenue and whatever plan, because the council, you have done an excellent job with the thoroughfare plan, with the architecture plan, with the infrastructure plan. You always planning and ensuring, putting those safety areas, putting everything in place. This is why we're doing and updating constantly. And if we stay on top of it, it will meet the need of Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Sagara. Whether it's $1.47 or 50 cents, I don't think any resident want their fees raised at this time. So that's great thinking, forecasting, but right now I think option one is the best option, not only for the city financially with our projects that we have, also for our residents. So thank you very much, Mr. King. Thank you, council, for that great discussion. And it is on the floor. I have to wait till I get finished with him before I can ask for it. I want to see if anybody else had questions. All right, thank you. With that being said, all in favor, yes. All in and opposed, no. And this is a motion of direction for option one. Uh, 7-0. Thank you, Council. Mr. Garrett, always good seeing you. Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, we're down to 4 items. Public hearing will be held on February the 27th, 2024. Madam Secretary.
PH 24005, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance submitted by Gerber Ochoa on behalf of Shaw Motors LLC, case number Z2331, to rezone approximately 4.63 acres being part of the R.A. McGee survey, abstract number 561, from A, agricultural, to B4 business district. The subject property is generally located on the east side of South Fort Hood Street, approximately 1,920 feet south of the intersection of Chaparral Road, Killeen, Texas.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Welcome back, Mr. Revelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council and City Management. I know we want to make sure we get through quickly. This is a request to rezone property from agriculture to B4. This property is about 4.63 acres. It's located where the star is represented on the map. It's an area of the property surrounding zoning and existing zoning. And then some photographs to the east and west, and south and north.
Bless you.
The future land use for this property is currently regional commercial. If you recall, back on October 24th, council made the decision to change the future land use from residential mix to regional commercial. At the time, during that time of the presentation, we cited a couple of things. No city utility services available. That's still the case. Property located within the West Bell County Water Supply Corporation, CCN, that's still the case. And then no city sewer, still the case, and would have to default to a septic system on this site. I think you all are very familiar with this place type. It's also located in a controlled growth area, and so there are requirements associated with that. I would say that it mentions that for municipal utility districts as well as areas in the city, typically close access to city infrastructure. I will say for this particular property, that doesn't necessarily fit this full category, but that's the current designation. Those are the comprehensive plan ideas and recommendations that would be furthered by this request. Information concerning the development zone. All notifications have been accomplished. To date, no written responses have been received. Notification boundaries is the 200 and the 400-foot boundary. And despite the site's limited access, staff is of the determination that the applicant's request is generally consistent with the recommendations of the Killeen 240 Comp Plan as indicated in the comprehensive plan analysis, and therefore we're recommending approval of the applicant's request to rezone the property from agriculture to B4. This case was heard at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they voted to recommend approval unanimously, a vote of 6-0 on January 22nd, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Revelle, Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is in regards to the design of this building. First question actually, is this a used car dealership? In fact, it was mentioned prior, or is this for strictly new cars?
It's our, the applicant is here, so I'll, are you okay, or you want me to answer?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
With the applicant.
Good evening, sir. Would you please state your name for the record?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ahmad. I'm the owner of Shaw Motors. And I've been working with a used car in Pflugerville almost like 12 years. And my main reason that's why we was trying to buy this piece of land that would be for a used car. And from 30 to 40%, my customer was coming from Killeen and from Temple, Gerald, the husband, wife, a daughter, they all came from here to Pflugerville to buy a used car from me because I was ex-US military overseas, and that was their recommendation emphasized to what if you want to extend your business to us here. So that's why I just talked to Sergeant Ochoa, my representative, so we just finally find that piece of land, and that will be our, in the future, like a used car lot for that Killeen citizens.
I hear you. Thank you for that information. You know, I understand, you know, you run a void analysis in this area, you're gonna see no car dealerships, you know. I understand where there might be demand in this area to meet that clientele. I'll be frank, my concern is preserving this commercial potential retail corridor as we grow. There's just a lot of opportunity here. I'm not convinced that a car dealership may be the most appropriate. I know we discussed this prior too, but I'm starting to have some concerns looking deeper into this. The design of this building, we're talking about a metal building. I mean, what do you have existing? What do you plan to build here? This would be the newest structure on 195 coming into the city.
Yes, sir. So since this is the entrance of Killeen, so I will be not building or design something which will be for temporary. No, I want to design a building which we already had designed, my engineers, and as I wish to give it a copy to use, and that will be not like as a middle.
Actually, can we take a look at that, please? Just curious to see it.
I wish to give it early.
Yes.
So this will be not for a metal, so it'll be with the rocks and bricks.
Okay, rocks and bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let other council members speak. I did share what I thought was important to me. Thank you.
Because I have enough fund to build that building for my car dealership.
No, sir. Oh, no, sir. Oh, thank you. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ravel, for the presentation, and thank you, sir, for being here today. I wasn't at the meeting when this Flume Amendment came through. While I don't disagree with the Flume Amendment to commercial, I think it makes sense for the corridor. My issues with the project, and I hope that this was vocalized at that last meeting, are the infrastructure concerns. No connectivity to city sewer, no connectivity to city water. As someone who's previously worked at, a private sector engineering firm, that's concerns, not only for the city, but I would think for you as well. I'm not a fan of commercial on septic, I'm just being honest. The city has put forth a lot of work for septic tank elimination programs. We're trying to get the city off of those. So to be putting one back in, especially for commercial use, it raises some red flags for me. The other part that we really don't have much control over it is the CCN that you're for West Bell water, not clean water. I mean, I guess that part's a little easier to overcome. At least you have potable water supply. But the sewer is a concern for me. I don't know if you've spoken with your civil engineering firm that you're consulting with, or if you've engaged one to this point yet or not. And I don't know where the nearest, I don't see Mr. Zagers here, where the nearest availability of city sewer would be, if that's even an option, or if it would require a pump station, or what that would look like.
It's generally along Chaparral. If I had let me see if we can go to the back. It may not be on here. It's actually off the map, but it would be further up, about over a mile away on Chaparral.
Okay, gotcha. So was this part of your conversation when you looked at the feasibility of this site for your project? Did you talk to someone about that? Hey, maybe we should look at another site, or you think septic was okay?
Honestly, before I purchased this piece of land, I just talked to the city and 3 times, and they talked to me like a professionally. So we have a hope to be, there will have some availability in the future. So that's why yeah.
Okay, I got you. So hoping for the future, the city moves city sewer availability out that way. I don't know. I know there's been conversations about Brandy Loop, septic tank elimination. I don't know how far out we believe that would be. Maybe that's a question for Mr. Zagers. He's not here.
Yeah, and I had a conversation, a brief conversation with Mr. Kanye prior to his leaving, and I had discussed this site with him, and he didn't think that there would be any near terms associated with sewer extension.
Gotcha, okay. I just want to make sure that we're being transparent with you, so there's no false expectations. Well, the city is going to bring sewer out here in the next 2 to 3 years, and, maybe that's more like 20. So anyways, but thank you for being here. I think it's a good project. I think you just have some hurdles here with this site that maybe need to be talked through a little bit more.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So, Mr. Revelle, this is a rezoning case
Yes,
from
ma'am.
agriculture to B4, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you. And first off, I just want to say thank you because, we always talk about leakage, and leakage is when people here go and purchase things outside the city and they're going all the way down to, what is it, Pflugerville? Is that where you said, Pflugerville? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring that back, people that buy, reinvest, and, we're going to collect, some kind of tax dollars, I guess. I don't know how that works in the car business, but at least property, taxes and stuff like that. But my question, number one, is, did you already buy the property? I'm trying to refresh, because I remember something.
I already bought
You already
the
bought the
Yes.
property, and I think we talked about that last time. And
Yes.
it's like, big mistake.
I had a hope, honestly, so
You're a good real estate person. Not me. But the other thing is, how much of an investment are you looking to make,
as of right now, I have like a $1.5 million to investment on that project.
Yeah. And when we talk, Mr. Ravel, when we talk like an area that is kind of, what do we call it, restricted or controlled?
growth.
Are we
Yes, sir.
talking about, like, is that within that cemetery district that we have? Or university district? Because I know we got those areas out there, out near the cemetery, we got the cemetery district and all that. It doesn't fall within those areas, does it?
I don't believe this does, but the control growth is really related to our growth sector maps, where it really kind of outlines where we encourage growth and where we see growth happening. On that spectrum, this property kind of falls in that category of properties where we want to be cautious and restrictive in the growth
Definitely.
pace.
And that was kind of my big concern, because I know that, when we're trying to develop that area, especially around the cemetery district, and we got properties in there, we went through this when they did the dollar store, and that was in that cemetery district. So this kind of falls outside of that, right? Is that where?
I really don't want to say yes or no on that, because I don't.
If you can find out, because
I
that
can.
would be my decision based on that.
Okay.
If it falls out, then I'm okay with it.
Wait a
Ms.
minute,
Wallace.
Miss Mesher can answer that question.
Ms. Mesh, I know.
Good evening,
Kids
Mayor and
hear it
Council.
all the time. Good evening, Mayor.
This area is actually well south of both the University District and the
So,
Cemetery
okay.
District.
That was my big concern. If it falls in, then, but,
It's
you know,
not.
I know there's concerns here, and I think I share some of those, and Mr. Alvarez talked about this, and that's a big concern too. But I think that, you're willing to invest, and it's gonna, I think, look better than what is out there right now, which is nothing, I think. And, if you're willing to look and make that investment and say, you know what, I'm moving to Killeen to try to keep it. And unfortunately, I agree with a lot of our citizens out there sometimes that we do have too many car dealers and car washes, and that's dictated because of our population. If we want to get rid of that, then we pretty much have to get rid of the young generation, because it's market driven, if you understand business. We really can't control that, other than tell people not to do that anymore, not to buy. But you got to accommodate, otherwise you go broke. People that don't understand business who say, you should do this. Well, I would love to do that, but who's going to buy it if we don't have the market? And so you have to adjust to what the market demands, even though people don't agree with it, but it's what the market dictates at this time. If it shifts, then you end up going bankrupt, so that's kind of the thing that you don't want to do. And so you're taking a big risk, and I know I'm talking a lot, and when these
No.
soldiers move out,
We're
the
just
young
on
generation
zoning.
moves out,
Tonight is just zoning.
you end up losing money there. But with all of that said, good luck on it.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem, we're talking about the zoning.
Good evening, sir. I've heard the many discussions that we had in reference to septic and the zoning. Currently, it's zoned as agriculture. Sir, it's the third district coming out towards that way. And I know over near the cemetery and near that area. Sir, I can't agree with it. I never want to fault or stop anyone from achieving or growing, but it just don't fit. To me, it just does not fit.
You have plenty of time.
No, that's it. It doesn't, it doesn't take a lot of words to say it doesn't fit. I just don't think that coming into our city from that way, from the southern area, it doesn't go. I think the agricultural land and seeing the hills and seeing the Welcome to Killeen and having some parts of our area that is not captivated by a used car lot. Is your plans wonderful? They're wonderful. I looked at them many times. I kept thinking I wouldn't even sit on the hill to make sure that I understood. But I just think that it's better as an agriculture district. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Would anyone else like to speak before Councilmember Boyd? Because he already spoke, so I speak after you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and this is my final comment on this. I'm defaulting back to the recommendation in regards to this rezoning case from city staff, which is approval, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is approval. It was important to me to understand the intent of the design, and looking at these actual architectural plans, the intent is there. This would be the newest structure coming into Killeen on that area, and during that prior discussion, we talked about what was surrounding where this would be and how it would complement or will complement the area. And it is on a corner. That is something I'm taking into consideration. It's not like it's in the center of that potential corridor for future retail. So thank you for providing this information for me. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. And I know, Mr. Revelle, I'm only focused on our comprehensive plan. As we move forward in 2040, something will be built there. There's no doubt. And I'm not against anyone opening up a business. But how we want our city to look when you're coming from Austin, people travel up and down. It's just not, I don't want to be just and I don't take this the wrong way, but I've seen a lot of military towns. And that's what you see. And I'm hoping when we think about rezoning that our mindset is what we do have there. I'm not impressed. If I was coming to live in Killeen, Texas, and coming from Austin on that back way, there is a lot of work that needs to be done over there. And until we can fix what we have over there, it's no need to put other stuff over. It's not impressive to me. And I've always been about beautification. So just adding stuff and thinking it's going to make, put a bow on a pig and it's going to look better, that's not the case here. No matter how beautiful this design is, and I don't even have it before me, and it looks good to me. I'm not taking away from that. But as we move forward with our 2040 comprehensive plan, wow, we got a lot of work to do over there. I'm not telling them to vote for it or against it, but I just don't think we are at a point with this council, and we have done amazing things when it comes to rezoning and how we want to see our city grow, that we stick to the plan. There are so many other places where that is competitive over there with them, but I don't have a problem with it being here. It's just not where we have potential businesses. Even with our, Mr. Connell just talked about our research park gonna be over in that area. We're gonna have Future Command, everybody coming through there. I just really want us to think about 2040 comprehensive plan, 20 years, not today. How do we want our city to look? And I remember the same presentation, and if I'm not mistaken, that, sir, I could be wrong, but you stated that financially you will lay down all the infrastructure the last time you came before us, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, the only thing, I'm not against it, somewhere else preferable, if we need it, but I don't think it's the right place for our city as we continue to grow and want to really see what we invested in our comprehensive plan to come forth, and that was not part of it. But thank you, Mr. Revelle.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Secretary.
PH 24006. Hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending the corporate city limits of the City of Killeen, Bell County, Texas, DA 2301, by disannexing approximately 5.91 acres out of the W.H. Bruce Survey, abstract number 1296, being locally addressed as 13311 FM 2484, Salado, Texas, declaring said land to no longer be a part of the City of Killeen.
Thank you. Mr. Revelle.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request, a petition to disannex 5.91 acres that we had received from the Prince, Doctors Justin and Christine Prince, on November the 29th of 2023. The property, the best way for me to really describe where this property is really to show it on a map. As you can see, the star on this map along 2484 and still far south of Stillhouse Hollow Lake. The property is located currently within the city limits of Killeen. It was part of an annexation that was done, I believe, back in 2000, was that 7 or 9? Give me a second. ...2008, thank you. I heard somebody say it. Back in 2008, it was part of a larger annexation of about 2,200 acres of property. And again, this is a request to, or petition to remove 5.91 acres at the location that I previously showed. This property is currently zoned agricultural, and it currently is unplatted and has 2 small agricultural outbuildings. The subject property is not contiguous to the larger existing city limits of Killeen, and the City of Killeen does not provide the subject property with any municipal services. The service agreement that was adopted back in 2008 was for 10 years, and so that agreement has expired, and so there are no city services associated with this particular property. Again, shows the location. And staff is recommending that the City Council approve the disannexation ordinance as presented. Find that due to the fact that there are no municipal services being offered in this area, and that if we did decide to keep the property in and offer those services, that there would be a cost that probably would far outweigh the current taxes that are being received associated with this property. I believe from the most current research that we did, taxes received to date to the City of Killeen, I think this past tax collection was about just under $1,400. So again, we're recommending that this disannexation ordinance as presented on next week be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Revelle, again for that presentation. Just one thing to touch on. This is the second one of these disannexation requests that we have received. And thanks to, if I'm not mistaken, our most recent legislative session, if we were to deny this, they would still.
This one is different. This is a disannexation request. So this is property that's actually located in the city limits right now, and they're requesting to be out of the city limits. The last request you received was a
ETJ.
request. Yes, sir, to be released from
Okay.
the ETJ. Yes, sir. So it's slightly
Gotcha.
different.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
This the one that does not have any utility hookups out in that area?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware of any city services, no.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Councilmember Cigar.
On-
Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez.
On this diagram, the property's in the purple. Everything in the brown, is that considered still inside the city limits? You see how the brown?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
yeah, you got the brown part around the blue, because you got the purple lot. So I'm
The
assuming
blue
it's.
boundary is our city limits. So
Yeah.
this is our city limits.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that's still in the city limits.
Everything, yes. So everything out here is outside the city
It's
limits.
HTJ. So where that purple is, they're going to get de-annexed,
Right.
but then to the left of them, look at all that, that's still.
This will still remain inside the city limits.
Are there any houses or anything there?
There are.
And the reason I'm asking, because it usually has that domino effect, so I'm pretty sure that we'll probably see that whole area come back before the city council.
It's possible. That area is relatively sparsely developed. I believe the intent here is that they're looking to develop a home here.
Okay.
So it's possible.
And so none of those other properties receive city service, that whole area right there?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So now ETJ, this is approved, so then they still, that makes them eligible to come back and ask to be removed from the ETJ after that.
A request can always be made, yes. And
Okay.
so, yes.
And then I know it was already asked, any city service, are they in our water system? Or is it separate, was that, are they in our water system?
Have we, I don't have it, no, I don't believe they are, but I haven't looked into it. Sure.
I'm actually the owner, Justin Prince. We don't receive any utilities whatsoever from that area. No water, no bulk trash, no septic, no anything, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravel. Madam Secretary.
DS 24017, provide update regarding short-term rentals.
Welcome back, Ms. Tanglein.
Thank you, council members. This item is to give the council a short-term rental update, and also I'm here to ask for a motion of direction at the end. Some background: in April 2023, the City Council approved ordinance amendment allowing short-term rentals effective October 1st, 2023. In August 2023, the city entered into agreement with Avenue Insights for collection of short-term rental compliance services. The city staff is working with Avenue Insights to implement the permitting portal. However, the tax collection portal is currently up and running. The permitting portal will be open on May 1st, 2024. Training for property owners is scheduled for May 18, and also we have another date that is not in this slide, and it's May 4. And this one's going to be at the Killeen Civic and Conference Center. The other one is going to be at the CAC. The portal for the hotel occupancy tax collection is currently available. And the property owners collecting tax on rentals must submit the tax collection via the portal. So we have a lot of residents who has calling us and ask how they can submit taxes, and that's why we want to make available the portal, that way they can go in. If they're collecting taxes, they need to submit the taxes to the city. The business owners can make payments at the link on the city's website. And we're going to request for a motion of direction. The staff originally proposed waiving registration fee for the month of October 2023, but the proposed motion of direction is to waive registration fees for the month of May 2024. And then we also want to waive penalties and interest for taxes due for short-term rental prior to April 30th, 2024, if taxes are paid by May 31st, 2024. Meaning the people who are already collecting taxes can submit it without any penalties right now. And then whenever the permitting portal is available, everybody needs to come and register. Avenue is going to send letters, and then also the community development working a flyer that we're going to send with those letters with information to all the residents that are renting properties. Do you have any questions?
Councilmember Boyd. Thank you.
I was actually going to go ahead and make these motions of direction. So I'll go ahead and do that if there's not any other.
Do anybody have a question? Because I have one.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilman Boyd. Why was there a delay with this service? What happened?
So we're trying to get the permanent portal the right way. So we have worked with the community development, community development services and finance, because they all have to line up with what we need. So the avenue is kind of customizing that portal. That way the workflow goes the right way. Whenever there's complaints, it goes to the right department. And then whenever the permitting is, the people will do the permits, right, the inspections. If they're denied or if they don't pass, we need to come back to the city and go to Avenue. It is a workflow that we have to work out that Avenue didn't have ready. And then Mr. Revel was very specific with what he needed because he knows the needs of the city. And we were just going back and forth and finally got the Avenue to agree with what we need, and they're working on it, and that's why it took so long.
Okay, thank you for explaining it. My only concern is that have you did a test run? I don't want us to miss feeds. I don't want us to open it up to residents here, register, blah, blah, and now we got a glitch.
Yes, no, the permitted side, we're going to test it first, and it's going to be ready on May 1st. So we're actually meeting with Avenue every week. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow, and then we are going to test the permanent site first before it goes out to the residents. So we will make sure there is no glitches, and that's why it's taking that long, because we want to make sure it goes to the right way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mrs. Tangleman. Councilmember Boyd, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to make the two motion directions as
Yes, sir.
requested on the slide. I make a motion of direction to waive the registration fee for the month of May 2024.
Do you want both of them together or
I
separate?
can combine them, as well
Combine,
as
she said combine.
to waive penalties and interest for taxes due for short-term rental prior to April 30th of 2024 if taxes are paid by May 31st of 2024.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Solomon.
I second that, Madam Mayor.
Motion of direction, yes, sir. Thank you, Councilmember Solomon. Councilmember Adams, do you have any questions?
I do. How much money are we talking about that we're going to be out of by waiving that fee?
It will depend how many people actually register in the month of May. I wouldn't want to give a number since I can come back and let you know.
Thanks. Yeah, do it.
All in favor of the motion of direction, yes. All opposed, no. Motion of direction carries 7-0. Madam Secretary.
DS 24013, discuss state of Texas versus the city of Killeen and Bell County versus the city of Killeen regarding enforcement of low-level marijuana offenses.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Law, Government Code 551.001, the mayor now calls a closed meeting of the City Council on the 20th day of February 2024 at 8:51 p.m. under the following authority: Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. The city council will consult with legal counsel regarding pending litigation. Agenda item DS-24-013. The mayor now calls for a closed meeting. The council to go so we can go home, and we thank you all that stood around and waited. Francisco, you ready? Okay, you ready, sir? So we have 4 people here. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute, we can't do it. We came out of closed meeting at 9:49 a.m. 9:49 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Cagle. Now can I get a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.